Chapter 655. Eh? Why are you here too? Kelly, who had met Han Sho once, finally noticed Han Sho's presence and cried out in surprise. Back in Kasi Empire, Han Sho and Kelly had joined hands and dealt a heavy blow to the Shrine of Ice. Although Han Sho and Kelly didn't have a deep friendship, they had fought side by side after all. If you can come, why can't I come? Han Sho could only force a smile. Ever since Kelly and that middle-aged man appeared, Donna had looked as though she was facing a formidable foe. Han Sho didn't need to think to know that the middle-aged man was an enemy and not a friend. Both sides were on different sides. This also meant that Han Sho and Kelly would very likely have to fight to the death. Han Sho had a pretty good impression of Kelly. The Druidic Order was Lancelot Empire's most important business partner. No matter how one looked at it, Han Sho didn't want to become enemies with Kelly. But judging from Donna's expression, Han Sho knew that he had no choice and felt somewhat helpless. Kelly sighed. He too was aware of the current situation. He didn't seem too willing to make an enemy out of Han Sho, but he was just as helpless as Han Sho. What are you all standing here for? You didn't come all the way here just to enjoy the scenery, did you? The middle-aged man who came with Kelly saw that everyone was staring blankly at him and didn't do anything. He looked at the crowd and asked with a smile, "What's the matter? I didn't expect Lord Old to come. This is getting more and more interesting." Donna suddenly relaxed and said with a smile, "My main purpose in coming here is to find the remains of my ancestor. Of course, I also want to take a look at the wonders of this place. After all, it seems that my ancestor died because of this strange place." The middle-aged man named Old explained with a smile and a nod to Donna. Hearing Old's words, Han Sho suddenly had a thought. Could the tree of life at the bottom of a deserted island in the boundless sea be the ancestor that Old was looking for? From the moment Old appeared, Han Sho, who cultivated in the element of death, felt somewhat uncomfortable. Just like how gods of darkness would be especially sensitive to gods cultivating in the element of light, Han Sho's avatar cultivating in the element of death would only be sensitive to gods cultivating in the edict of life. The tree of life at the bottom of the deserted island was obviously transformed from a very powerful god cultivating in the edict of life. After hearing Old's words, Han Sho immediately made the connection and guessed that the remains he buried might be the one that Old was looking for. However, Han Sho would only bury these thoughts in his heart, and would never reveal them at this moment. That area was too close to the cemetery of death. If Old knew the location of that place, he would very likely know the location of the cemetery of death as well. As a cultivator of the edict of life, Old should be very sensitive to the elemental energy of death. Han Sho was a cautious person and naturally would not say anything. Old's words not only made Donna's party, but even Kaiser and Erickson didn't seem to believe him. "Lord Old, if you don't mind, we can discuss it together," Kaiser invited with a sunny smile on his face. "That would be great. Hee, I was just worrying about the situation here." Old readily agreed and walked towards Kaiser's party. As he approached Han Sho's party, Han Sho noticed that Donna was staring at him vigilantly as though she was ready to deal with Old's attack at any moment. Old stopped in front of Donna and chuckled. "Miss Donna, there's no need to be so nervous. I'm just here to take a look at the situation. As long as you don't intend to destroy all life on this continent, I won't do anything to you. If that's the case, then that's for the best." Donna was still very cautious and guarded against Old. She pretended to be relaxed. "As cultivators of the edict of life, we are all people who love life. We won't put others to death unless we have no other choice. The reason why we had such a big fight with those people last time was because they wanted to destroy all life on the continent. My ancestors had no choice but to intervene. As long as you don't have such intentions this time, I believe that both of us will have a very pleasant journey," Old said with a beaming smile. Although his attitude was very gentle, his tone still carried a deep meaning. Donna did not say much and only nodded silently. No one knew what she was planning. "Hey, you're Brian, right?" Old suddenly glanced at Han Sho with a look of interest. Han Sho was startled. He didn't understand how Old knew him. He looked at Old in puzzlement, and nodded woodenly. I've heard some things about you from Kelly. You're quite interesting. Not a bad lad. However, it's a pity that you've chosen to cultivate in the elemental energy of death, Old said with a smile as he gave Han Sho a few deep glances. Han Sho was stunned. He didn't know what Old meant. He didn't try to act smart and answer. Donna, Bolton, and Bowen looked at Old with astonishment, and then looked at Han Sho strangely. They couldn't understand why Old would be interested in a nobody like Han Sho. You're on your own. Old didn't express too many thoughts. He nodded at Han Sho and walked towards Kaiser and his party with a smile. Kelly, who was behind him, exchanged glances with Han Sho, forced a smile, shook his head, let out a sigh, and followed Old. On the other side, Erickson didn't look too happy when he saw Old walking towards him. He let out a soft groan but didn't voice his dissatisfaction. On Profound Continent, the Shrine of Ice and the Druidic Order had been fighting openly and covertly for a long time over the supply of believers. The grudges between the gods in the mortal world had also affected the gods in charge. It was only natural that they didn't get along well with each other. Come on, let's continue inside, Kaiser softly exclaimed. He then shot a glance at Donna from afar and said, Lord Old, if you don't mind, how about you guide us? No, I'm just following you. Haha, you don't need to mind me too much. Old rejected Kaiser's proposal and replied smilingly. All right then, let's go. Kaiser didn't insist and took the initiative to lead the way. He secretly gave Erickson, who was putting on a sour face, a few meaningful glances, hinting that he shouldn't spoil the plan at this juncture. The party seemed to have suddenly forgotten the existence of Donna, Han Sho, and the others. They headed straight for the Ninth Realm mystical Een Harvester. Han Sho, who was standing beside Donna, could tell that Donna heaved a sigh of relief when Old rejected Kaiser's proposal. After Kaiser and his party had walked some distance away, Donna solemnly instructed the few youngsters behind her. This time, if it's not necessary, try not to provoke that Old. He's notorious for being a troublemaker. As long as he doesn't make an enemy out of us, we don't have to worry about him. It was evident that Donna was very wary of Old. The group of haughty youngsters also expressed their agreement after hearing those words. It appeared that they all knew about Old's background. Among the party, Han Sho was the only one who knew nothing about Old. He couldn't help but ask, Is this Old very difficult to deal with? Donna forced a smile and nodded. She explained, Old is notorious for being a busybody. His strength is also extraordinary. In our Elysium, Old is a very strange fellow among mid-gods. Generally speaking, he won't be particularly interested in anything. But when he does, he won't let go and won't stop until he achieves his goal. It's a real headache. Elysium. This was the first time Han Sho had heard Donna mention their background. He was shocked. Han Sho had heard a little about Elysium through various channels. Both Bichimos and that person inside the Holy Grail had mentioned Elysium on more than one occasion. According to Han Sho's understanding, Elysium should be the highest level material plane out of all the material planes. Legend had it that Elysium was the material plane where the supreme creator deities resided. The elemental energies on Elysium were denser than any other material plane. It was the most suitable place for gods to comprehend elemental edictal energy. Elysium had the most energy ores, the most powerful gods, and the most ancient family clans. Legend had it that Elysium was boundless and filled with countless mysterious tales. It was the center of all material planes and the home of the gods. In short, according to what Bichimos and that person in the Holy Grail said, the Elysium was the birthplace of the gods. It was also the central place where the gods of numerous material planes gathered. Almost all the overgods resided on the Elysium. There were all kinds of forces on Elysium. The most powerful forces were, of course, the 12 major forces with overgods. Many ancient family clans pledged allegiance to the 12 overgods. Many of the ancient family clans on Elysium were not only engaged in incessant wars on Elysium, they were also engaged in battles on other material planes. In this vast universe, more than 90% of the low, medium, and high-level material planes were controlled by those ancient family clans and the 12 overgods on Elysium. Having heard so many legends about Elysium, Han Shuo knew what Elysium signified. Now that he had confirmed from Donna that they were from Elysium, Han Shuo finally understood why youngsters like Bolton and Li Wei would feel so superior after arriving on Profound Continent. Elysium. When I finish my business on Profound Continent, I will personally go and see what Elysium is like, Han Shuo thought to himself. Come on, let's follow them, Donna instructed while Han Shuo was making up his mind. Kaiser, Old, and the others were nowhere to be found. Donna, Han Shuo, and the others hastily followed after them. They did not encounter any other anomalies along the way. Following the location that the spirit demon had previously scouted, Han Shuo, Donna, and the others arrived at the 9th realm Mysticaline harvester that was shrouded in dense mist of Mysticaline aura. Standing there and sensing the extremely dense Mysticaline aura in the surroundings, Han Shuo greedily took a few deep breaths. He could feel the Mysticaline aura entering his chest and abdomen, slowly filtering through his muscles, meridians, and bones before being absorbed and transformed by his demonic infant. It was a wonderful feeling. As he gazed into the distance, Han Shuo discovered that a few towering mountains and rivers had been moved to this place by someone with extraordinary energy. The marvelous 9th realm Mysticaline harvester had been transformed into the most miraculous 9th realm Mysticaline harvester. Han Shuo could not be more astonished. Having arrived at this place, and looking at the incredible scenery around him, Han Shuo was so impressed by the person who deployed the 9th realm Mysticaline harvester that he didn't know how to express himself. Such a vast and majestic project was not as simple as moving mountains and draining seas. It required the alteration of numerous laws of heaven and earth. To be able to accomplish such a magnificent feat, the terrifying strength that Han Shuo dared not imagine was beyond his imagination. This is too miraculous. This seems to be man-made. Who in the world would have the courage to accomplish such a magnificent feat? Old cried out in disbelief. Could it be that some overgod came to this material plane by chance and expended his divine energy to create such a magnificent formation? Kaiser was extremely astonished as he muttered to himself. That's impossible. Nothing here can be accomplished by elemental energy or edictal force. Perhaps only a few overgods could create such a magnificent spectacle, Erickson said in a deep voice. Everyone shook their heads and smiled wryly at his words. They understood that those overgods would not be so senseless. The overgods had always held grudges against each other, so it was impossible for them to join forces. However, everything here seemed to be made by someone. They racked their brains but still couldn't figure out what was going on. This is too incredible! Donna couldn't help but cry out in surprise as she looked at the towering mountains and rivers that seemed to have been twisted into a strange pattern by someone. Han Shuo noticed that the mountains and rivers were distorted as though they were transformed by some kind of demonic art. Some of the traces on the mountains gave Han Shuo a sense of déjà vu. However, when he thought about it carefully, he couldn't figure out what was going on. The scene here was beyond Han Shuo's imagination. Han Shuo was speechless as he gazed at the huge 9th realm Mysticaline harvester that was formed by the rips of the earth and the mountains as the eye of the formation. I think that we can only figure out what's going on here after we reach the deepest part. Old suddenly became excited after sighing for a while. Not only Erickson and Kaiser, but also Donna and the others were hesitant when they heard Old's words. Before coming here, they had vaguely learned about the dangers of this place based on what their ancestors had told them. Therefore, they began to worry about their own safety when they heard that Old wanted to enter. Before they even reached this place, they had already been beaten to a pulp by a dozen mystical demons. As long as they used their brains to think, they would know that the most mysterious area would definitely be the most dangerous. Therefore, they didn't dare to advance recklessly. You fellows, what are you afraid of? Didn't you come here to enter? Why are you all hesitating now that you're right in front of us? Old sneered. Let's go! Han Shuo suddenly spoke. He was the first to enter. After entering, he turned around and smiled at Donna. Come, follow me. I don't think there'll be any big problems. Chapter 656. Surrounding the ninth realm mystical harvester were a dozen or so demonic formations of various sizes. Han Sho only recognized two of these demonic formations, the Pentacloud Miasma and the Black Gale of Doom. These two demonic formations were connected to each other and formed an intersection leading to the center of the ninth realm mystical harvester. Han Sho walked into the intersection formed by these two demonic formations. Han Sho's heroic spirit was greatly appreciated by Old, and he praised Han Sho profusely. At first, Donna was still hesitant and undecided as to whether or not she should enter immediately. But when she discovered that Han Sho was one step ahead of them and had already entered one of the intersections, she finally made up her mind. She nodded at Bolton, Li Wei, and the others behind her and quickly followed after him. Just as Old had said, their main purpose of traveling thousands of miles from Elysium was to explore that mysterious place and see what kind of miraculous things were hidden inside. It was fine to hesitate for a moment, but they had to take the risk in the end. Han Sho was the first to enter the Pentacloud Miasma. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath of the murky air in the periphery. He sensed the nature of the miasma and began to ponder in silence. Donna led Bolton, Bowen, and the others to Han Sho's side. She gave Han Sho a few strange glances and felt that the way Han Sho was meditating with his eyes closed was very strange. Donna was puzzled. She gestured for Han Sho to stop and softly asked, "Brian, are you all right?" Han Sho opened his eyes, smiled, and shook his head. He looked at Old Kaiser and the others who were standing not far away and said, "Let's go." Han Sho planned to infuriate Kaiser, Erickson, and the others so that they would follow him into the Pentacloud Miasma. However, on second thought, he realized that in order to enter the ninth realm mystical harvester, he would have to pass through 2 or 3 demonic formations. Even if they didn't follow him into the Pentacloud Miasma, they would still have to pass through some other demonic formations. The demonic formations around the ninth realm mystical spirit harvester should be similar in power. Since no one could avoid it, Han Sho didn't need to take the unnecessary step of forcing those people to go with him. "Well, be careful. This place is very strange. Don't be careless and get trapped here," Donna warned. No matter how careful he was, it was difficult to avoid falling into the formation. Han Sho knew this in his heart, so he didn't care about Donna's words at all. He just carefully observed the surrounding situation, and according to his own understanding, he was looking for a way to get out of the Pentacloud Miasma. In less than 10 steps, the surrounding scenery suddenly changed. Colorful poisonous miasma flooded in from all directions in an instant. The poisonous miasma must have been refined using a special method. It was extremely corrosive. As soon as the poisonous miasma came out, a strange squeaking sound could be heard in the air. "Careful, don't let your skin come into contact with the poisonous miasma," Han Sho hastily cried out in alarm. If there were no enemies like Old and Kaiser, Han Sho might not have cared about the lives of Bolton and the others. However, at present, they could be considered to have a common enemy. If Bolton and the others could stay alive, they would have a slight upper hand in the upcoming battle. With them fighting Kaiser and the others at the front, Han Sho could ensure his own safety. Han Sho's cry of alarm caused those people to shriek. The acidic aura of the colorful miasma was very obvious. As though they were facing a great enemy, they deployed various means to form protective barriers around their bodies. Li Wei, Donna, and Bowen seemed to have used divine weapons to completely cover their bodies, preventing the poisonous miasma from invading. Bolton and Colbert, on the other hand, had released their divine energies to form a protective layer to protect their bodies from harm. When the colorful miasma came into contact with the protective layer formed by Bolton and Colbert's divine energies, faint smoke began to rise from their bodies. "What a powerful acidic miasma!" Bolton was greatly shocked and could not help but shriek. "Oh, this thing is so evil! Even my protective divine weapon is corroding. We must get out of here as soon as possible." Li Wei also cried out after Bolton. The miasma had been refined using a special method and could corrode anything. It was even more difficult to protect one's physical body. If not for the fact that Bolton and the others had used the same method to cover their bodies, their skin and bones would have rotted away and they would have turned into puddles of blood. Han Shuo also acted as though he was facing a great enemy. He hastily deployed a protective shield. An oval-shaped shield as thin as a cicada's wing enveloped his entire body. With the protective shield powered by demonic yuan, Han Shuo was as steady as Mount Tai. He was not corroded by the colorful miasma in the slightest. Astonished, Han Shuo suddenly felt that something was amiss. According to the description of the pentacloud miasma in Chu Kanglin's memories, the miasma in this place would corrode anything and there were very few things that could be avoided. Even protective shields were not immune to the corrosion of the miasma. However, when he deployed his protective shield, the poisonous miasma with terrifying corrosive power actually didn't corrode his protective shield at all. This greatly surprised Han Shuo, and he didn't know what was going on. After pondering for a moment, Han Shuo suddenly thought of a possibility. Did the person who deployed the pentacloud miasma tamper with the miasma when refining it? That was why his protective shield was immune to it. Eh? Why isn't there smoke rising from his body? Li Wei cried out in surprise again. She pointed at Han Shuo with a strange expression. Following Li Wei's gaze, Dana, Bolton, and the others all wore strange expressions. They were either protected by divine weapons or forcibly supported by divine energy, but they could not escape the corrosion of the miasma. Smoke curled up from their bodies, making them appear as ethereal as immortals. On the other hand, Han Shuo's body was shrouded in a layer of faint black light and was no longer corroded by the miasma. He stood out from the crowd. "Brian, why aren't you corroded by the miasma?" Dana asked in astonishment. I've cultivated in an unorthodox energy. For some reason, I can actually avoid the corrosion of the miasma," Han Shuo replied with a smile. He knew that these people would not let the matter rest if he did not give an explanation. "Ah, interesting. Li Wei giggled. Soon after, she said in a very natural manner, "There's still some space over there. Let me in too. My treasure cannot be destroyed by this vile miasma." Upon finishing those words, Li Wei cheerfully walked towards Han Shuo, disregarding whether Han Shuo agreed or not. She arrived before Han Shuo and was about to force her way in. "There's no more space." "Sorry!" Han Shuo did not like Li Wei. As she flew towards him, with one thought, the spacious protective shield around him shrank by a large margin. "There was clearly more space just now." Li Wei knew that Han Shuo did it on purpose. She glared at Han Shuo and said angrily, "There clearly wasn't." Han Shuo lied through his teeth with a straight face. "Stop fooling around. We should leave this place as soon as possible. It won't do any of us any good if we stay here for too long. This miasma is a little too terrifying," Dana chided with a frown. She then led the way at a very fast speed. Everyone knew that Dana was right. Bolton and Colbert, who did not have divine weapons to protect their bodies, were depleting their divine energy with every passing second. They could not wait to leave this dreadful place. The two of them were also the fastest and closely followed behind Dana. 10 minutes later, beads of sweat appeared on Dana's forehead. She became visibly anxious and said, "What's going on? Why haven't we gotten out of this godforsaken place? We are moving so fast. We should have reached the end of the 1,000-mile journey by now. Why are we still here?" The pentacloud miasma consisted of the miasma gas and the pentacloud illusory formation. The miasma gas was mainly used for attacking and corroding everything that entered it. The pentacloud illusory formation was an exquisite illusory formation that made it difficult for those who did not understand the illusory formation to leave. The miasma gas was extremely corrosive. With that, Han Shuo remained motionless while the two women threw themselves at him, allowing him to enjoy the bliss of being surrounded by multiple lovers. Meanwhile, outside the protective shield, Bolton, Bowen, Colbert, and Bolton had to endure the poisonous gas's assault at all times. Bolton and Colbert, especially, were using their divine energy to sustain themselves. Their faces were flushed red and they looked extremely miserable. On Han Shuo's side, the beauties threw themselves at him as though they were afraid that they wouldn't be close enough. On the other hand, Bolton and the other two were miserably resisting the poisonous gas's corrosion. They were in agony every second. The difference in treatment between the two parties was simply too great. One was heaven and the other was hell. There's something strange about this place. I can't find a way to leave this place for the time being, but the poisonous gas's corrosion hasn't stopped. Bolton, Bowen, Colbert, it might be troublesome for you to stay here. Why don't you go back the way you came? We'll call you back when we find the exit. Donna appeared very apologetic. But she had to say that for the sake of the three. The three's faces were full of bitterness as they looked at Han Shuo, who was enjoying the bliss of having multiple lovers. They clenched their teeth and were about to turn back when they suddenly heard Han Shuo shout. No! You brat, don't go too far. Are you only satisfied if we stay here and die from the poisonous gas? Bolton was furious. If it weren't for Donna, he would have dragged Han Shuo out to suffer together with him. Seeing Han Shuo hugging the beauties left and right, he was filled with rage. Brian, they'll die if they stay here. Donna was also a little surprised. She turned her head with some difficulty, her red lips very close to Han Shuo's ear as she spoke. They'll die if they go back. Haven't you noticed that we've been circling around the same area all along? In my opinion, there's no way out once we've entered this place. I can guarantee that even if they go back, they will never find the end. Han Shuo shouted coldly. He knew that these people did not understand the strangeness of the demonic formation. They were naive enough to think that they could turn back and retreat if the situation turned bad. What? We've been circling around the same path. Li Wei cried out in alarm beside Han Shuo's ear. Her voice was extremely high-pitched and sharp, scaring Han Shuo so much that his protective shield began to sway. Li Wei and Donna hastily grabbed one of Han Shuo's arms and stuck close to him, fearing that they would leave the protective shield. After being reminded by Han Shuo, Donna, who was the strongest among them, carefully recalled and suddenly mumbled. That seems to be the case. There's no way out once we've entered. We have no choice but to walk out. Otherwise, we'll all die, Han Shuo said coldly. Upon hearing those words, the faces of Bolton and the others who still had hope of leaving turned ashen. If you observe carefully, you'll notice that this place filled with colorful miasma has some peculiar patterns. I think that as long as I can find the right pattern, I should be able to leave this place. Han Shuo suddenly put on a faint smile when he saw their faces filled with despair and panic. Chapter 657. What pattern? Why haven't I discovered it? Li Wei was greatly astonished. She struggled to turn her head and look around. However, apart from the colorful miasma that filled the air, she could not see anything special about the place. There's only the colorful miasma here. I can't see anything at all. Is there really a pattern? Donna mumbled to herself in astonishment. Haven't any of you discovered that the flow of the miasma actually follows a pattern? Han Shuo pointed out with a faint smile. The party was dumbfounded by Han Shuo's words. Soon after, they focused their attention on the flowing miasma around them and observed the changes in it. After careful observation, they really did find that the colorful miasma had some strange characteristics as it flowed. The miasma was divided into 5 colors: red, blue, green, purple, and black. The 5 colors did not interfere with one another nor did they mix together. As they flowed around them, the 5 miasmas seemed to have a tacit understanding. Every time, one of the miasma would come over and stay for a period of time before automatically dispersing. Then, another miasma would continue to corrode them. Oh! There really seems to be a pattern. Li Wei was very excited. Then, she looked at Han Shuo, who was right in front of her, and asked, Could it be that our way out has something to do with the miasma? I think so, Han Shuo replied indifferently. The pentacloud hallucination formation borrowed the miasma. As long as they could grasp the pattern of the miasma's flow, they would be able to figure out the way out of this place. All right, let's all observe carefully. Donna, who had great trust in Han Sho, hastily shouted. Upon hearing those words, the party who had been stuck in the pentacloud miasma for a long time began to observe the pattern of the miasma, hoping to find a way out of this place. Unfortunately, after observing for a while, they did more or less figure out the pattern of the miasma's flow. However, they did not understand the pentacloud hallucination formation at all. Even if they knew the pattern of the miasma's flow, they could not find a way out. I can't hold on much longer. Bolton's face was flushed red. He had consumed too much of his divine power, causing him to feel fear. Although Li Wei's servant, Colbert, did not utter a word, his aged face was pale and he appeared to be on the verge of death. Li Wei, let's go. Let's give our seats to Colbert and Bolton. At this critical moment, Donna decisively ordered Li Wei. Soon after, she turned to Han Shu and said, Brian, we should work together at this moment. Taking a deep breath, Han Shu suddenly smiled and said, You don't have to go out. Why? Colbert is dying. Even if the divine weapon is damaged, I can't just watch him die. I'm going out, don't stop me. Li Wei said anxiously when she saw that Colbert's face was turning paler and paler. In the distance, when Colbert heard Li Wei's words, a trace of gratitude emerged in his lifeless eyes. When he saw that Li Wei was about to come out, he hastily said, Young lady need not worry about this old slave. This old slave's life is for the sake of protecting young lady and not for young lady to sacrifice herself for me. What are you talking about? If you can live, then live well. Donna berated. I said we don't have to go out, so we don't have to go out. Han Shu thought to himself that Li Wei wasn't completely devoid of redeeming qualities when he saw that she was so attentive at such a critical moment. Seeing that everyone's gazes were once again focused on him, Han Shu confidently said, I have found the pattern. Follow me, I will lead you out. Are you sure? Bolton shouted with a mixture of surprise and delight when he heard Han Shu's words at this moment of despair. There shouldn't be a problem. Han Shu nodded and instructed. Line up behind me. If I go fast, you go fast. If I go slow, you go slow too. Don't fall behind by a single step. Otherwise, don't blame me if you get lost and can't make it out alive. Donna was not at ease either. Before Han Shu took action, she asked again. Brian, do you think we can make it out of here before their divine energy is exhausted? Trust me. Han Shu replied like a charlatan. At such a moment, nobody had any good ideas. But when they saw that Han Shu was so confident, they came to a tacit understanding and moved to Han Shu's side one after another. Han Shu said nothing after seeing that everyone was ready. His eyes glowed faintly as he carefully observed the flow of the miasma. All of a sudden, when the red miasma dissipated and was about to be replaced by a purple miasma, Han Shu suddenly moved 5 steps to the left. Behind him, Bolton and the others had been cautiously waiting for Han Shu's next move. The moment he moved, they immediately followed suit. When they were 5 steps behind him, they miraculously discovered that the red miasma that had dissipated earlier had once again returned to their side and began to corrode them. After a few dozen seconds of silence, when the red miasma once again dissipated, Han Shu suddenly moved again. This time, he moved extremely slowly, step by step, to the right. After 10 steps, the scenery changed. Han Shu and the others had once again arrived at the place where the red miasma had gathered. At this moment, the group discovered that Han Shu was actually following the red miasma. They gradually gained more trust in Han Shu. Before this, the miasma was erratic and would never reappear around them. They had gone back and forth in this place countless times and had never been corroded by just one miasma. Li Wei, who was leaning closely to Han Shu, suddenly moved her fragrant lips to Han Shu's ear and softly said, You're quite something. Han Shu was not affected at all. He calmly observed the changes ahead. Behind him, Bolton and the others held their breaths in rapt attention, waiting for Han Shu's next instruction. Listen to my command. Everyone move back! Han Shu suddenly shouted calmly. Bolton and the others were astonished to hear Han Shuo's words. They did not know why Han Shuo had suddenly ordered them to move back. But at this point in time, they had all pinned their hopes on Han Shuo. They did not say a word, but their eyes were resolute, tacitly agreeing to Han Shuo's command. After waiting for a dozen seconds, Han Shuo suddenly shouted, "Move back 8 steps!" Bolton and the others did not dare to hesitate. They hastily followed Han Shuo's command and hastily took 8 steps back. When they came to a stop, they discovered that the red miasma was once again lingering around them and corroding their bodies. How miraculous!" Bolton cheered. At this point, he no longer had any doubts about Han Shuo. He knew that Han Shuo had indeed grasped the pattern of the miasma. Donna, who was as close as Han Shuo, could not help but grab Han Shuo's arm. When Han Shuo lowered his head to look at her in puzzlement, she exclaimed, "You really found the pattern!" This exclamation was not doubt but affirmation. It seemed that she had truly believed in Han Shuo. Han Shuo didn't reply and took another 3 steps forward. It looked like 1 step back and 1 step forward, but the red miasma didn't slip away from their side from beginning to end. Finally, Han Shuo slowly took 5 big steps to the right. The surrounding scenery suddenly changed. There was no longer any trace of the miasma. At a glance, they discovered that they had really walked out of the mysterious miasma-shrouded place behind them. Thud thud! Bolton and the others followed closely behind and walked out of the pentacloud miasma. The 3 of them were stunned for a moment before they were overjoyed. Colbert and Bowen were still silent, but their eyes were filled with the joy of escaping death. After laughing heartily for a while, Bolton reluctantly walked towards Han Shuo. After pondering for a moment, he stammered, I hope you don't mind if I have offended you before." Thank you this time." For such a proud and arrogant scion of an aristocratic family to humbly thank Han Shuo in front of Donna and the others, it meant that he had indeed made some progress after that near-death experience. Nodding his head, Han Shuo's expression was the same as usual. He didn't claim credit nor was he arrogant. He said indifferently, "You're too kind. We're all grasshoppers on the same line. If we suffer, we suffer. If we thrive, we thrive." Seeing that Han Shuo did not say anything to embarrass him by expressing his thanks, Bolton did not say anything, but his heart was filled with gratitude. When he put away his disdainful and hostile gaze towards Han Shuo and looked at Han Shuo with a grateful heart, he suddenly realized that it was indeed as Donna had said. There were many things that they could learn from him. For example, Han Shuo did not panic in the face of danger. He was even calmer than Donna. Moreover, he had been silently searching for a way to leave and had never given up. Such willpower and perseverance were definitely nurtured after facing life-threatening situations for a long period of time. Bolton still had such foresight. From the looks of it, Bolton realized that although Han Shuo's strength was not particularly strong, there were some qualities about Han Shuo that determined that Han Shuo would not be an unknown minor character in the future. Bolton was not a mediocre person to be able to come here. After he redefined Han Shuo, his attitude towards Han Shuo underwent a drastic change. "Haha, it's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, Bowen and I would not have been able to escape this calamity. Words cannot express our gratitude. After this mission, Brian, I hope that you will visit our family as a guest. We brothers will definitely thank you properly." The sudden change in Bolton's attitude towards Han Shuo left everyone dumbfounded. The taciturn Bowen was even more puzzled. He could not understand why his elder brother had suddenly become so amiable. Donna nodded inwardly and shot a surprised glance at Bolton. She thought that this fellow wasn't completely useless after all. After hearing Bolton's words, Han Shuo took a deep look at Bolton. Seeing the sincerity on Bolton's face, Han Shuo pondered for a moment and roughly guessed Bolton's thoughts. He chuckled and said, "There will be a chance. And our family, Brian. You've also saved us. On behalf of our family, I would also like to formally invite you to our family as a guest." Li Wei giggled and similarly extended an invitation. Han Shuo was stunned. He suddenly realized that he seemed to have become a hot commodity. For a moment, Han Shuo was not used to these two fellows who had been hostile to him from the very beginning becoming so cordial. Seeing that Li Wei was still staring at him, Han Shuo continued to prevaricate. "Ha ha, there will be a chance, there will be a chance. Brian, you're really a big shot. Li Wei and Bolton are famous for their arrogance. I didn't expect them to invite you together. Ha ha." Donna giggled and teased Han Shuo. Han Shuo shrugged in a very relaxed manner. With a faint smile on his face, he said, all right, let's take a break. There are more difficulties ahead." After exiting the pentacloud miasma, there was still the black gale of doom below. They were currently at the intersection of the two demonic formations and were temporarily unaffected by the formation. Having gone through the previous round of tempering, the party had more or less exhausted some of their divine energy. Now was not the time to be careless. "Brian is right. Let's not talk and rest for a while." Donna immediately agreed with Han Shuo and hastily said. Knowing that there was still a difficult situation ahead, the party did not say anything else. They gathered the elemental energies of heaven and earth and silently recovered their lost energy. Han Shuo was the only one who was unperturbed. As the miasma did not corrode his protective shield, Han Shuo's demonic yuan consumption was extremely limited, and he did not need to spend as much effort to recover. He merely observed Bolton and Bowen in silence. Both Bolton and Bowen cultivated in the Edict of Destruction and possessed late-stage low-god strength. Han Shuo's knowledge of the Edict of Destruction was limited. As someone who never gave up on any opportunity to improve his strength, Han Shuo's knowledge of the Edict of Destruction was too poor. Now that there was a chance for him to observe, he would naturally seize it. Bolton and Bowen unfolded their domains of divinity. Their domains of divinity were filled with an aura of destruction that distorted the space around them. Affected by the Edict of Destruction, the surrounding rocks, air, and space seemed to be destroyed. Under the effect of the Edict of Destruction, the divine energy in their bodies gradually recovered. Han Shuo's avatar of destruction, which was also a cultivator of the Edict of Destruction, was meticulously sensing the traces of the operation of the Edict of Destruction in Bolton and Bowen's domains of divinity. He silently memorized them and planned to give them a try in the future. While Han Shuo was secretly observing Bolton and Bowen, Donna's body had returned to normal. When Han Shuo saw that Donna was the first to recover, Han Shuo hastily withdrew his gaze from Bolton and Bowen. This kind of behavior was a big taboo. Han Shuo did not want Donna to discover his rude behavior. No one would be willing to be spied on while cultivating because it would expose the weakness of one's energy. It was very likely that the weakness of one's energy would be grasped by others and put one in a disadvantageous position. Han Shuo's expression remained the same. He smiled at Donna and was about to say something when he suddenly heard a blood-curdling scream from a distance. That scream was unusually mournful, as though it was the last struggle of a person before death. Han Shuo's brows tightened. Soon after, he said in a mischievous manner, "It seems that some people are in trouble. Judging from the sound, it seems that someone has met with misfortune. This is a great fortune for us. You are the great fortune for us. Without you, we would have met with misfortune just now." Donna looked at Han Shuo and giggled. It was obvious that Donna was in a good mood because of someone's death. Chapter 658. There were many large and small demonic formations arranged around the ninth realm mystical Een Harvester in a complicated and intricate manner. From what Han Shuo could tell, those demonic formations weren't weak at all. The pentacloud miasma alone was enough to make Donna and her party suffer unspeakably. It was likely that the others had also encountered demonic formations of great destructive power. A miserable shriek sounded, disrupting the minds of those who were recovering. Bolton and Bowen woke up with a start. Their faces were filled with shock. As though to bring them more surprises, yet another ear-piercing shriek sounded from afar. This shriek belonged to a woman. Everyone immediately knew that the young married woman must have suffered as well. "That's too frightening. 2 are already dead." Li Wei looked at the black gale of doom before her with a face filled with panic. When Dana, who was rejoicing in others' misfortune, saw that Li Wei was staring fearfully ahead, the smile on her face gradually disappeared and was replaced by a solemn expression. Dana knitted her brows and pondered in silence for a moment. Then, she suddenly said, "All of you have heard the two miserable shrieks just now. I'm sure all of you know what they mean. All of you have experienced a previous perilous situation and should understand that such a mysterious place is full of dangers. I'm certain that the next trial will be even more difficult." Everyone listened to Dana in silence. She took a deep breath and continued, "Perhaps one of us will die like them at the next trial. If any of you want to back out, it's not too late to do so. Although it's not very honorable to back out at the last minute, it's at least a little more acceptable than death. Given the strength of your families, you should be able to bear the consequences. Think about it." The three youngsters fell silent after hearing Dana's words. Their faces were filled with hesitation, as though they were having a hard time making a decision. Colbert and Han Shuo, however, did not have such worries. Colbert, who did not value his own death, was prepared to follow closely behind Li Wei. Han Shuo was determined to enter and find out what was going on inside. Naturally, he would not back out at the last minute. Besides, Han Shuo had a certain understanding of the black gale of doom. He was confident that he would be able to deal with it. It's hard to break through without experiencing danger. I want to try again. Bolton was the first to make a decision. His expression was resolute. Even a coward like Bolton dares to go in. Why should I be afraid? Li Wei clenched her teeth and said resolutely. Bowen followed Bolton's lead. He had always agreed with Bolton's decisions, and this time was no exception. Li Wei's death was more important to Colbert than anything else. Naturally, he would follow her closely. Even if he didn't say anything, Dana understood this. "All right then, I'll give you a little more time. After a while, we'll enter together. This time, when you die, I will tell your family about your bravery. Your family will also be proud of you." Dana nodded and praised. Without another word, Bolton and the other three seized the time to recover their divine power amidst the tense atmosphere. "Brian, I'm suddenly very curious about you. You must have experienced many life and death situations on this continent, right?" Dana suddenly smiled. She looked at Han Shuo with interest, as though she wanted to see what kind of person Han Shuo was. Han Shuo stared blankly for a moment. He pretended to think seriously and nodded with a smile. "You can put it that way. Low-level material planes aren't peaceful either. You have to fight for whatever you want. Facing death head-on is a common thing." "No wonder." Dana agreed with Han Shuo. Then, she suddenly changed the topic and asked, "What kind of energy are you cultivating? Why is it so strange? I've been training on various continents for a long time, but I've never come across a similar energy." After a moment of silence, Han Shuo put on a faint smile and indifferently said, "It's normal that you don't know about unorthodox energy that can't be shown in public. Hee, it's really nothing. You don't have to be so curious." Dana could tell that Han Shuo didn't want to talk too much about demonic arts. She hesitated for a moment and nodded with a faint smile. She finally stopped asking, "I'm rather interested in Elysium. Can you tell me more about it?" While the others were cultivating, Han Shuo and Dana happened to be free. Han Shuo was very curious about Elysium and where Dana came from. It was a good opportunity for him to ask about it. Bichimos and the being in the Holy Grail had also described Elysium to Han Shuo. However, as the two had been trapped for many years, their descriptions of Han Shuo were from a long time ago. Therefore, there must be many discrepancies in their descriptions. Elysium was Han Shuo's next target. He wanted to have a more detailed understanding of it before he entered it. It's hard to explain in a few words. Once you're there, you'll understand that it's the center of all material planes. Almost all of the 12 overgods are cultivating on Elysium. From this, you should be able to see the uniqueness of Elysium, right? Dana smilingly said. Han Shuo nodded indifferently, and did not ask any further questions. He became even more determined to go to Elysium. Time passed quickly. After a short while, Bolton and the others woke up from the recovery of their divine energy after hearing Donna's shouts. "It's about time. I can't give you too much time. Otherwise, by the time we reach our destination, Kaiser and the others might have already beaten us to it." Donna took a deep breath. Seeing that the others understood what she meant, she took the lead and walked inside. "Everyone, be careful. It's best to be on guard right from the start." While they were recovering, Han Sho carefully recalled Chu Kanglin's description of the Black Gale of Doom in order to warn them in advance. After their previous encounter, they no longer dared to look down on Han Sho, a minor god from a low-level material plane. With Han Sho's warning, they all acted as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Before they actually entered the Black Gale of Doom, they had already put up their defenses. Han Sho nodded. He was very satisfied with their cautiousness. He too put up a protective shield and was the second to step into the Black Gale of Doom after Donna. As soon as they entered, they were met with gusts of frigid astral winds. At first glance, they could only see the gray clouds hanging low above their heads, making it difficult for them to see their surroundings clearly. The frigid astral winds carried a frightening power that could sweep away all obstacles. They were like sharp knives. Han Sho looked around with rapt attention, but he couldn't see Donna's shadow at all. After staying in the same place for a moment, Han Sho didn't find any trace of Bolton and his party. This made him realize that the Black Gale of Doom had been operating from the start. Every person who stepped into the Black Gale of Doom would immediately trigger the formation. The surrounding scenery would change drastically, making it impossible to find any traces of others. Han Sho wasn't nervous, because he discovered that the frigid winds and terrifying astral winds that blew past him miraculously went around him as soon as he walked in. They didn't attack him at all. It was exactly the same situation as the pentacloud miasma. With a feeling of surprise, Han Sho sized up his surroundings. He could clearly see that the astral winds and the frigid winds were everywhere. They would only suddenly change direction and blow sideways when they reached the protective shield formed by his demonic yuan. This meant that Han Sho would be safe and sound within the Black Gale of Doom. He didn't need to be distracted by these attacks. Is it because I cultivate in demonic arts of the same origin that I'm immune to all the formations here? This thought suddenly popped into Han Sho's mind. He immediately felt that the reason why the demonic formations here didn't bombard him indiscriminately must have something to do with the demonic arts he cultivated in. With this thought in mind, Han Sho summoned his two avatars and flew out from the protective shield. In an instant, the frightening frigid winds and astral winds frantically swept towards his two avatars. That kind of power was filled with a ruthless and cold aura. The winds seemed to be able to pass through his body, causing Han Sho's two avatars to suffer unspeakably. Han Sho immediately came to a realization. With a thought, the energy of destruction within his avatar of destruction was withdrawn and transformed into the form of the demon's lair edge. Traces of demonic yuan from Han Sho's body circulated within the demon's lair edge. A bizarre change occurred once again. All the frigid winds and astral winds suddenly changed direction and blew around the demon's lair edge. That avatar of death transformed from the skeletal staff only had the divine energy of death in its body. It was constantly being ravaged by the frigid winds and astral winds and was in a very bad situation. As expected, Han Sho understood. His two avatars were compatible with his soul and weren't affected by the changes in their surroundings. They quickly returned to Han Sho's body. After testing it out, Han Sho finally believed that as a cultivator of demonic arts, he was completely immune to the attacks of the demonic formations here. Even his avatar of destruction, transformed from a demonic weapon, was unaffected by the demonic formations because it still had a small portion of demonic yuan in it. Based on Han Sho's understanding of the pentacloud miasma and the Black Gale of Doom, he knew that these two demonic formations wouldn't stop attacking just because the person who entered was a demonic cultivator or a demonic cultivator. It seemed that there was only one possibility. The terrifying existence who had set up the demonic formations had forcefully altered them so that they wouldn't attack demonic cultivators who cultivated demonic yuan. Without much thought, Han Shuo understood that the senior who had set up everything here must have come from the same place as him. In this universe, perhaps he also knew that there wasn't anyone who knew how to cultivate demonic arts. That was why he had set up such a formation here, preventing all cultivators of other energies from entering, but only allowing demonic arts cultivators to enter. Why did he do this? What was the deeper meaning behind it? Han Shuo was very puzzled. His curiosity grew stronger and stronger. Han Shuo couldn't figure it out no matter how he thought about it. In the end, he decided to put aside all his chaotic thoughts for the time being and decided to explore further. With a movement of his consciousness, Han Shuo sensed the location of Dana and the others. In such a place, Han Shuo's consciousness, which was cultivating demonic arts, wasn't affected at all. His vision and two souls that cultivated in the Edict of Destruction and the elemental energy of death couldn't pry into the surroundings. He couldn't see the real situation clearly. Only his consciousness was completely unhindered and could sense the reality of his surroundings. As his consciousness spread out, Han Shuo suddenly discovered that the souls of Dana and the others were extremely agitated and unstable. It was an illusion. Han Shuo immediately deduced that not only would the black gale of doom be wreaked havoc by the astral winds, if one stayed inside for too long, they would fall into many terrifying illusions. In the illusions, they would encounter the most dreadful and painful things in their lives. Moreover, the illusions would multiply the effects of these dreadful and painful things on them, destroying their willpower from the heart. In the state of illusions, if they were not careful, they could possibly sink into it forever. Inside the terrifying illusions, they would have to face the onslaught of the astral winds. Even a terrifyingly powerful expert would be reduced to a lunatic within a short period of time and eventually die. Unlike the pentacloud miasma, the black gale of doom did not require any pattern to walk out of this place. That was because anyone who entered this place would immediately face the onslaught of the astral winds and the astral winds. At the same time, they would have to face the most dreadful and painful scenes in their hearts. During this process, if one did not walk out of the dark side of one's heart, it would be practically impossible to move a single step. Naturally, there was no need for the disorienting formation. As his consciousness slowly spread out, Han Shuo soon discovered that Li Wei and Bolton were in the most perilous situation. It was unknown what dreadful things the two of them had experienced, but their souls were in utter chaos. It was as though they would collapse at any moment and sink into the abyss. Time was of the essence. Han Shuo knew that if he did not act now, Li Wei and Bolton would be the first to die inside. With Li Wei's and Bolton's apologies, Han Shuo no longer held a grudge against them. In addition, he knew that in the grand scheme of things, if Li Wei and Bolton were to survive, he might have a better chance of survival. Therefore, Han Shuo let bygones be bygones and immediately took action. When Han Shuo arrived beside Li Wei, he discovered that Li Wei was screaming hysterically like a madwoman. She was in an incomparably miserable state. Han Shuo did not understand what Li Wei was going through. He went over and grabbed her. Li Wei was in a state of delirium and was completely unaware of her surroundings. She was clawing and biting at Han Shuo like a madwoman. It seemed that she would not be able to recover any time soon. Seeing that this situation was going to continue, Han Shuo did not hold back. Taking advantage of the fact that Li Wei was unable to organize an effective attack, he knocked her out with a slap. Grabbing Li Wei by the waist with one hand, Han Shuo extended his consciousness and rapidly arrived beside Bolton. He saw that Bolton's face was filled with fear, panting heavily as he desperately attacked something invisible. With Li Wei's experience, Han Shuo did not hold back either. He knocked Bolton out as well, grabbed his shoulder, and quickly brought both of them out of the black gale of doom. Han Shuo returned to the black gale of doom, knocked out Bowen, who was hugging his head and crying, and Colbert, who was frantically running away, and brought them out of the black gale of doom. Once again, Han Shuo walked to the side of Dana. Perhaps because she was the strongest, although Dana was also in a state of delirium, her condition was not as bad as the others. When Han Shuo approached Dana, he saw that Dana had a mournful look on her face. She cried out in despair. Don't go, I beg you, don't go! When Han Sho walked to Donna's side and was about to knock Donna out, Donna seemed to have sensed something. All of a sudden, she embraced Han Sho. Her luscious red lips abruptly came up to him. Before Han Sho could react, she started kissing Han Sho madly. Donna cried out in surprise when she saw that Han Sho had his arm around her slender waist. Her mind quickly turned and she quickly recognized the situation. She immediately asked, Brian, did you save me? Han Sho smiled when he saw that Donna had woken up. He put her down and apologetically said, You were also bewitched by the illusion just now. I saw that your emotions were very unstable, so I knocked you out. It's all right. Thank you. Donna smiled sweetly. Suddenly, her tender and beautiful face blushed. She seemed to have recalled something, and her bright, limpid eyes glanced at the corner of Han Sho's mouth. Ahem! Han Sho immediately understood something from the direction of Donna's gaze. He hastily wiped the corner of his mouth with his sleeve. When he lowered his head to take a look, he discovered that there were indeed traces of red on his sleeve. It was the powder Donna applied on her lips. Ah, you guys! Li Wei's sharp eyes noticed the strange expressions on Han Sho and Donna's faces. She covered her mouth and cried out in surprise. Disbelief was written all over her face. With Li Wei's soft exclamation, the others pondered for a moment, and soon realized what was going on. Each and every one of them wore strange expressions. Among them, Bowen's face was especially gloomy. His gaze towards Han Sho became even more hostile. It's not what you guys think. Donna's face turned even redder, as she hastily explained. Han Sho also felt somewhat awkward. When he saw that everyone's gaze was focused on him again, he coughed once again and pretended to be natural as he said, Miss Donna was lost in the illusion and mistook me for someone else. I was in a hurry to rescue her and did not expect that she would do such a thing while she was in a daze. Enough. Donna embarrassedly interrupted Han Sho. She swept a glance at Bolton and the others with her bright eyes and chuckled. She then jokingly scolded, You brats, why are your minds so dirty? Li Wei let out a cry of grievance and complained in a low voice. We didn't say anything. All right. Donna glared at Li Wei and said to Han Sho apologetically, Anyway, thank you. Please don't take it to heart if I offended you in any way. Of course not. Han Sho replied in a deadpan manner. He thought to himself, What can I say if you forcefully kissed me? Am I supposed to forcefully kiss you back? It's all thanks to Brian this time. It seems that Brian is truly our lucky star. Bolton once again sighed emotionally. His gaze on Han Sho grew even more intense. If Han Sho did not know that Bolton was straight, he would have felt his hair stand on end. What a mysterious fella! He actually saved us again! Li Wei muttered as she stared deeply at Han Sho. The first rescue could be considered a fluke, but the second time was no longer an accident. After hearing Li Wei's words, Donna and the others looked at Han Sho with different gazes. Han Sho was unruffled. He did not claim credit, nor was he arrogant. He merely smiled and did not say a word. He knew that these people were extremely curious about him. They wondered why he was able to rescue them from such a mysterious and dangerous place time and time again. They wondered why a god from a low-level material plane like him could perform so many miraculous feats. What should we do next? Donna mumbled to herself as she gazed ahead. In front of them, there were no other demonic formations other than the enormous ninth realm mystical Een harvester that was formed by several mountains. Looking at the majestic mountains in front of him and sensing the extremely dense mystical Een aura, Han Sho felt as though he could see the magnificent feat of a demonic senior with profound magical power altering the laws of heaven and earth with the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Han Sho was momentarily absent-minded as his imagination ran wild. His heart was filled with admiration for that person. Brian, do you think we should go in next? Donna called out softly when she saw that Han Sho didn't respond and asked him by name. Han Shuo stared blankly for a moment before he looked at Dana in surprise. He forced a smile and said, "Why are you asking me? You're our leader, so we'll do whatever you say." Dana was rather taken aback by Han Shuo's words. She thought, that's right, why would I ask him? I'm the one giving the orders. After thinking about it carefully, Dana suddenly realized that her impression of Han Shuo had unknowingly changed due to the 2 times that Han Shuo had rescued her. Although Han Shuo's strength was not strong, for some reason, she had begun to view Han Shuo as a peer who could assist her. You always have some astonishing feats. Besides, you are very observant. It's only normal that big sister Dana would ask for your opinion. Li Wei did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. Perhaps she herself did not realize that her attitude toward Han Shuo had unknowingly undergone an earth-shattering transformation. Just tell us your opinion. I believe that no one will dare to disregard your opinion now. Dana smiled sweetly and looked at Han Shuo expectantly. Han Shuo looked around and discovered that it was just as Dana had said. Everyone was looking at him expectantly. Even Bowen, who showed hostility toward him, was waiting for his opinion. No one felt that there was anything inappropriate about it. Ha, these fellows are really realistic. Han Shuo sighed in his heart. He put on a straight face and said in a deep voice, Since we have come this far, I believe that no one will back down. Nobody knows what the situation is like up ahead. I believe that only after we go in will we be able to understand everything that has happened here. What do you all think? Han Shuo himself wasn't afraid of all the dangers here, and wasn't worried about facing even greater dangers. Otherwise, there was no way Kelly, who was only a demigod, would have survived until now when the 4 low gods who came with Kaiser and Erickson were all gone. The fact that Old was able to protect Kelly all the way out alive while still having strength to spare made Han Shuo very apprehensive. Without absolute certainty, Han Shuo would not act rashly. How come there aren't any casualties? Caesar, who was panting heavily, raised his head to look. His face was filled with shock as he asked Dana and the others. Subconsciously, the gazes of Dana and the others fell on Han Shuo. When they saw the situation of those on the other side, they became more and more thankful that Han Shuo was on their side. Having personally experienced the perilous situation, they understood that without Han Shuo, they would have suffered even more miserably than Kaiser and the others. The 4 on the other side were all people with extremely keen senses. They immediately discovered the focus of their gazes and were greatly surprised. They were somewhat baffled as to what their survival had to do with a puny low god like Han Shuo. Let's go. Don't mind them! Han Shuo softly exclaimed and repeatedly signaled to Dana with his eyes. He could tell that those on the other side were doing their utmost to recover after walking out of the demonic formation. Dana immediately understood Han Shuo's intention. She hastily signaled to Bolton and the others with her eyes and followed behind Han Shuo towards the 9th realm mystical Yin harvester. As expected, when Old Kaiser and the others saw Dana and the others enter the formation, none of them dared to continue resting. Under Old's lead, they hurriedly followed after them. If they had stayed where they were, those on the other side would have happily recovered their divine energy when they saw that Dana and the others were not moving. The more divine energy they recovered, the more danger Dana and the others would face. However, when Dana and the others ventured deeper into the formation, those on the other side, fearing that Dana and the others would obtain everything in the formation before them, naturally did not dare to linger. That way, they would not be able to recover their divine energy, which would increase the chances of survival for Dana and the others. Oh! Han Shuo suddenly exclaimed as soon as they entered the 9th realm mystical Yin harvester. What's going on? Dana was startled and immediately asked. Nothing! Han Shuo answered hastily. With a strange look on his face, he turned around and said solemnly, Follow me, don't get lost! Dana and the others did not say anything and followed closely behind Han Shuo. Suddenly, the scenery around them changed. Dana and the others found themselves in an unfamiliar stone forest. Behind them, Old and the others who had just entered were all staring at the direction they had just been in, discussing something in amazement. While Donna and the others were puzzled, Han Shuo suddenly shouted, "They can't see us! Everyone get ready! This should be the best opportunity to kill them!" Lady Donna was surprised. She looked at Han Shuo strangely and thought, "How do you know that those people can't see us? How do you know that this is the best opportunity to kill them?" Chapter 660. The Ninth Realm Mystical Een Harvester was capable of gathering mystical Een aura. Apart from that, it could also form a demonic formation of immense destructive power with just a slight modification. It appeared that the person who deployed the Ninth Realm Mystical Een Harvester did not intend for ordinary people to enter. It was only when Han Shuo stepped into the formation that he discovered that the center of the Ninth Realm Mystical Een Harvester was fraught with fatal dangers at every step. The area where Han Shuo, Dana, and the others were at was a blind spot of the formation that could be used as a refuge. However, those who did not understand the layout of the Ninth Realm Mystical Een Harvester would never be able to discover this blind spot, much less enter it. Han Shuo had carefully chosen every step he took. He had paced back and forth many times before he was able to reach this spot. The sudden disappearance of Han Shuo and his party shocked Old and the others. They stared in the direction where Han Shuo and his party disappeared but did not dare to venture any further. After the painful experience they had just gone through, they truly realized how terrifying this place was. The four low gods were all dead. They had also been struggling between life and death from time to time to reach where they were with great difficulty. This made them understand that every step they took could potentially bring them greater danger. Therefore, the moment the party of four disappeared, they naturally believed that the party of four had met with a calamity. "Brian, they really can't see us! What's going on?" Li Wei was pleasantly surprised and exclaimed. Dana and the others also stared at Han Shuo with puzzled expressions, their eyes full of incomprehension. "There are patterns in this place. If you don't pay attention to your surroundings, you won't be able to discover them," Han Shuo casually explained as he stared at Old and his party. "What patterns? It's just a few mountains. I can't see anything different about them," Li Wei mumbled in disbelief. Han Shuo turned his head around and put on a faint smile. He pointed at Old's direction and explained, "If you pay attention, you'll notice that there's a faint mist lingering there. It's constantly drifting around several mountains and rivers in a regular pattern and—" Han Shuo was very familiar with the Ninth Realm Mystical Een Harvester. He was able to grasp the crux of the matter with just a casual point. "TSK! It's true!" Following Han Shuo's instructions, Li Wei was startled to find that every word Han Shuo said was accurate. With that, when Li Wei looked at Han Shuo again, her eyes were filled with admiration. She asked respectfully, What kind of person are you? To be able to observe such minute changes in the surroundings so clearly?" Li Wei was not the only one. Everyone, including Dana, turned pale with fright. They looked at Han Shuo with eyes filled with respect. Some of the rules that Han Shuo had mentioned just now were absolutely difficult for ordinary people to notice. Even some people who were abnormally sensitive to their surroundings would probably not be able to notice everything. They would not even be able to see the layout of some strange trees clearly. However, Han Shuo had said it so casually. This had a great impact on their conventional understanding. What kind of person was he? He was actually able to understand every single peculiar change in his surroundings like the back of his hand? What does the pattern have to do with this place? Why can't they see us? The more Dana spent time with Han Shuo, the more she felt that Han Shuo was hard to understand. She had memorized all the descriptions of the patterns in the surroundings, but she still could not understand how it had anything to do with their current situation. "It's a bit more profound when it comes to this. This includes the right time, the right place, the weather, and some of the characteristics of all living things." Han Shuo had the air of a professional charlatan as he used some ambiguous words and some knowledge of the physics and chemistry of the last world to spout nonsense to Dana. His attitude was quite serious as well. Dana, Li Wei, Bolton, and the others who were listening attentively to Han Shuo's explanation wore puzzled faces. The more they listened, the more confused they became. They looked at each other in puzzlement. It would be a miracle if you could understand me. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Han Sho found it funny and began to explain to them in an even more serious manner. Occasionally, he would mix in some professional jargon from the previous world as he explained to Dana in a very sincere and serious manner. Dana and the others stared at Han Sho with their eyes wide open. They were all dumbfounded and speechless. If Han Sho hadn't performed so miraculously, if Han Sho hadn't brought them to such a mystical area, if Han Sho's description of the patterns in the surroundings was incorrect, then they would definitely think that Han Sho didn't know what he was talking about. In fact, Han Sho was indeed talking nonsense. However, it was precisely because so many strange things had been verified and Han Sho's actions seemed to be completely in line with a certain pattern that none of them thought that Han Sho was talking nonsense when they listened to Han Sho's unusually profound explanation. Instead, they felt ashamed of their own inferiority. They felt that it was because their intelligence was too low that they couldn't understand Han Sho's earnest explanation. After listening for half a day, they really couldn't understand a single thing. Looking at the earnest expression on Han Sho's face as he tried his best to make them understand, even Dana suddenly felt that her ability to understand was too poor. She even suspected that there was something wrong with her intelligence. "We've met an expert." Bolton and Li Wei exchanged glances and looked at Han Sho with admiration. Their determination to rope in Han Sho grew even stronger. "Do you understand what I'm saying?" Han Sho asked as he looked at them seriously. "Yes, a little bit, but not really." Li Wei felt a little guilty when she saw Han Sho's gaze. She hastily nodded in order not to appear particularly stupid. After hearing Li Wei's words and looking at Han Sho's expectant gaze, Bolton, afraid that Han Sho would treat him as an idiot, pretended to nod and pondered as though he had understood something. Han Sho laughed maniacally in his heart. He looked at Dana with even more expectant eyes. Under Han Sho's attentive gaze, Dana put on a strange expression. She sized up Li Wei and Bolton and saw that they seemed to have understood something. Her heart was filled with astonishment and confusion. If she were to admit that she knew nothing at this moment, wouldn't that mean that she was even more of an idiot than Bolton and Li Wei? Dana put on a sweet smile and nodded reservedly. She said, "Although it's a little profound, I can understand some of it." Ahem, ahem. Han Sho coughed repeatedly to stop himself from bursting into laughter. Seeing that the three of them thought themselves to be clever, Han Sho suddenly felt that the three from Elysium could not escape some of the bad habits of mortals. In fact, vanity and self-righteousness were even worse. "What about you two?" Han Sho asked Bowen and Colbert while suppressing his urge to burst into laughter. The two fellows looked at each other, their faces full of embarrassment. They repeatedly shook their heads, indicating that they didn't understand. They looked very ashamed, and didn't dare to look at Han Sho's sincere gaze. "You two are too stupid," Li Wei said disdainfully. Bolton nodded in agreement, and secretly rejoiced at his own cleverness. "Ah-ha-ha!" Han Sho could no longer hold it in and burst into wild laughter. "Brian, what are you laughing at? Shouldn't you be laughing at them?" Dana thought that Han Sho was laughing at Bowen and Colbert. She knitted her brows and reprimanded him. "No, I didn't mean to laugh at them." Seeing that Bowen and Colbert had become even more embarrassed, Han Sho hastily explained. "I just thought that it's very funny that we can see Old and the others, but they can't see us." "Ha-ha, don't you think so?" Upon hearing Han Sho's words, the crowd laughed in agreement, and repeatedly agreed that this was indeed the case. Han Sho shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He thought to himself that the honest ones were indeed at a disadvantage. Bowen and the others were the ones with low intelligence. These fellows were indeed interesting. All right, let's talk about how we should deal with them. Due to our disappearance, these fellows are very cautious and don't dare to take another step forward. It seems that they have been scared out of their wits by the strangeness of this place. Dana asked Han Sho after stopping Li Wei and Bolton from laughing at him. "It's very simple. Just attack them from here. I can guarantee that they will not know where the attack is coming from, nor will they be able to discover our tracks," Han Shu explained after calming himself down. "That's it?" Donna asked again. "That's it," Han Shu answered affirmatively. "Good, then what are we waiting for? Hee, there won't be many opportunities for sneak attacks like this." Donna giggled delicately. She appeared to be very happy. As she spoke, she had already started preparing. Bolton, Li Wei, and the others were also preparing their best attacks. They stood in the middle of the stone forest and launched their attacks at Old and the others who were still looking around blankly. Donna flipped her hands. Boundless energy of darkness streaked across the invisible obstacles and struck at Kaiser. Li Wei and Colbert unleashed the elemental energy of death. A soul vortex and a soul storm smashed at Kaiser. The two brothers, Bolton and Bowen, condensed their energy of destruction into sharp blades and fired them at Kaiser. Han Shu was the only one who remained motionless. He calmly watched the attacks of the five without any intention of joining in. Not good. Kaiser was greatly shocked. He sensed the surging attacks and hastily moved to defend against the attacks coming from an unknown direction. Without saying a word, Erickson drew a line in the air with his left hand. A sparkling and translucent ice barrier formed beside him. The ice barrier was filled with a sparkling luster that reflected his silhouette. It appeared extremely dreamy. "Don't move." Old calmly turned his head and said to Kelly. He didn't seem to make any movement, but the destructive energy that the Bowen and Bolton brothers launched towards him was completely blocked, unable to advance a single step. Kelly seemed to have grown accustomed to Old's protection along the way. He had absolute confidence in Old and was not nervous in the slightest. He quietly hid behind Old and did not exert any strength. "Bolton, Bowen, don't attack Old. Your attacks won't do him any harm," Donna hastily shouted when she saw that Old had effortlessly neutralized the attacks of Bolton and Bowen. Bolton and Bowen repeatedly responded. Like Donna and Li Wei, they focused their attacks on Kaiser and Erickson, ignoring Old altogether. Donna and the other four brothers got into action. They unleashed all kinds of attacks that dazzled Han Shu's eyes. One after another, they passed through the unobstructed, invisible barrier and shot at Kaiser and Erickson. Those people attacked in all sorts of bizarre ways. Some used weapons, some utilized the divine energy within their bodies, and some borrowed the elemental energies of heaven and earth before mixing their own energy into the attacks. There was also Donna, who activated the special energy of her domain of divinity, and attacked in a way that Han Shu could not comprehend. After attacking for a while, Han Shu discovered that although Kaiser and Erickson had consumed a large amount of divine energy, as they were mid-gods, the attacks from Bolton and the other three low-gods did not have much effect on them. It was only Donna's attacks that made Kaiser and Erickson feel as though they were facing a formidable foe. Bolton and the others also realized that their strength was insufficient to deal a fatal blow to Kaiser and Erickson. Therefore, they followed up Donna's attacks with their own. They waited until Donna tore apart their defensive line before taking advantage of the opening to attack. Only then did they truly cause trouble for Kaiser and Erickson. After a series of indiscriminate bombardments, Kaiser and Erickson were on the verge of death. They were so battered that they almost wanted to flee. From the beginning to the end, Old did not help Kaiser and Erickson defend against the attacks. He merely knitted his brows and observed the surroundings with rapt attention, as though trying to figure out where the attacks were coming from. The person who had set up this gigantic ninth realm mystical harvester was many times more powerful than Old. It was a cultivation method from another universe that Old could not comprehend. Although he had been constantly observing with rapt attention, it was all in vain. "Huff, huff, these two fellas are really tenacious," cursed Bolton in a low voice after exhausting a lot of his divine energy. "Hey, Brian, why haven't you made a move yet?" asked Bolton when he suddenly noticed Han Shu, who was coldly staring at them from the side. Upon hearing his question, everyone also took the time to look at Han Shu. Han Shu did not feel awkward under everyone's gazes. He laughed mischievously and said, "I'm weak, so I won't embarrass myself." At this point, Even if Han Sho said that he was powerless, they would not dare to look down on Han Sho. After hearing Han Sho's words, they did not blame him. Bolton even took the initiative to excuse him. You don't need to make a move. You just need to keep your head clear. With your smart brain here, we can save a lot of energy. Everyone agreed. Brian, you just need to observe your surroundings. That's enough. We need your help in too many ways in this regard. Just leave the rough work of killing to us. Bolton continued. That's for the best. Truth be told, I really don't like killing and arson. Han Sho laughed pretentiously. He pointed in the direction of Kaiser and Erickson and reminded. You just need to attack Erickson alone. Old and Kaiser are friends and he might help Kaiser in the end. But he definitely doesn't have any friendship with Erickson, and he certainly wouldn't care about Erickson's life or death. Moreover, Kaiser would only care about himself at such a critical moment, and would not risk his life for Erickson. I want to kill Erickson alone. The crowd was astounded but soon became overjoyed. They immediately prepared to kill Erickson alone as Han Sho suggested. And you say you don't like killing and arson? I think you're worse than anyone else. Li Wei giggled and rolled her eyes at Han Sho. Chapter 661. Han Sho was unperturbed and did not comment on Li Wei's evaluation. He merely continued to observe Erickson and his party. After receiving Han Sho's instructions, Dana and the others all aimed their attacks at Erickson. In an instant, rays of light interweaved and divine energy surged towards Erickson. Just as Han Sho said, Old chose to ignore Erickson. He continued to look all around to observe the changes in the demonic formation, making a futile effort. Kaiser heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that he was no longer under attack. He seized the time to recover his divine energy, and paid no attention to Erickson's impending death. Everyone had a selfish side to them. It was even more impossible to share weal and woe with one another in a relationship that was intertwined with benefits. The attacks that were supposed to be shared by Old and Kaiser were suddenly concentrated on Erickson alone. The pressure he had to bear immediately multiplied. Erickson had long been exhausted by this point in time. His divine energy had been greatly depleted. He was like a candle in the wind, on the verge of collapsing under the onslaught of attacks. The light of his life could be extinguished at any moment. Keep it up! Erickson is on the verge of collapse! Bolton laughed excitedly. He felt an indescribable sense of pride when he saw that Erickson, a mid-god, was about to be bombarded to death by them. Lord Old, please help us! Kaiser, who was still recovering his divine energy, hastily asked Old for help when he saw that Erickson was on the verge of collapse. As though he did not hear Kaiser's cry for help, Old continued to scan the surroundings with his brows bunched. He did not take Kaiser's words to heart. The Druidic Order and the Shrine of Ice had always been estranged from each other on Profound Continent. This had obviously affected the relationship between the leaders of both parties. Old was by no means a magnanimous person who would disregard past enmities and shield his enemies from the wind and rain. Kaiser could not help but smile wryly in his heart when he saw that Old was unmoved. He knew that he couldn't count on Old. Kaiser sensed that the amount of divine energy in his body had been depleted, then looked around at the seemingly endless barrage of attacks coming from unknown sources. After weighing the pros and cons, he felt uncertain. Kaiser looked on helplessly as Erickson suffered all sorts of attacks. He pretended to have exhausted a great deal of his divine energy, and panted to recover his strength. However, he had no intention of helping Erickson. You guys stay here and deal with them. I'll go out and check out the situation. Staying here isn't a long-term solution. I'll see if I can find a way to go deeper, Han Sho suddenly said. Dana was taken aback. She looked at Han Sho in astonishment and asked doubtfully, Aren't you afraid that Old will discover you and kill you instantly if you go out at this time? It's fine. I know what I'm doing. Han Sho spoke confidently, and then he thought for a moment before instructing Dana. Be careful. It's best not to rashly leave this place before I return. As long as you stay here, I can guarantee your safety. There won't be any problems up there. If you walk out of here, I can't guarantee anything." Donna was stunned speechless. It took her a while before she nodded solemnly. "Brian, where are you going?" Li Wei asked softly. Soon after, she volunteered. "Why don't I go with you? I can help you." "You can't help me." Han Shu immediately refused. When Li Wei was greatly disappointed, Han Shu added, "But if you can get rid of Erickson and the others, it will be considered as helping me." Upon finishing those words, Han Shu did not linger any longer. He nodded at Donna and Bolton before his figure blurred and he walked out of the stone forest. While Donna and the others were attacking Erickson with all their might, Han Shu unfolded his consciousness and covered the area from afar, secretly prying into the secrets of the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester. As his consciousness gradually extended, Han Shu sensed an inexplicable calling from the center of the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester. It was as though there was something at the center of the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester that was softly calling over and over again, waiting for his arrival. The feeling was extremely mysterious. At first, Han Shu thought that it was an illusion. But when Han Shu held his breath and tried to sense it carefully, he discovered that the calling was directed at his consciousness, attracting all of his attention. At this moment, Han Shu was certain that the one who deployed the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester was a demonic senior with profound magical powers. Han Shu had no idea how this terrifying senior came to Profound Continent. The only thing he could be sure of was that the senior had deployed everything here to target experts from alien material planes who did not know demonic arts. As for Han Shu, as a demonic arts cultivator, he would not be affected by the demonic formations here. This also meant that the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester, which Donna, Old, and the others faced with every step of danger, would be unimpeded by the demonic formations here. With that in mind, what else did Han Shu have to worry about? Donna, Li Wei, Bolton, and the others could be counted as Han Shu's allies. However, at a time like this, as a demonic arts cultivator, Han Shu would not be willing to let anyone know his secrets. He wanted to keep everything here to himself. With that in mind, Han Shu cast aside Donna and the others and had them stay in the stone forest to keep Old, Erickson, and the others busy while he explored the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester on his own. As soon as Han Shu walked out from the stone forest, Old, who had been observing the changes in his surroundings, discovered Han Shu's presence. As a cultivator of the Edict of Life, Old had an extraordinary ability to sense living beings. As Han Shu cultivated in demonic arts and had formed his consciousness, his life signature was vastly different from that of an ordinary person. Therefore, Old immediately discovered Han Shu as soon as he walked out from the stone forest. "Hey kid, where were you just now?" Old suddenly felt relieved when he saw Han Shu reappear. He grabbed Kelly and hastily flew in the direction of Han Shu. Han Shu wasn't surprised that Old could discover him. He calmly and unhurriedly walked towards the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester without the slightest change in his expression. Under Old's watchful eyes, not only did Han Shu's figure grow further and further away, even his life signature seemed to be concealed by an invisible boundary and gradually disappeared from Old's sight and soul perception. Old was extremely shocked. He was confident that his speed was much faster than the speed at which Han Shu left. However, not only was he unable to catch up to Han Shu, but Han Shu was also rapidly vanishing. Old could not understand this strange feeling no matter how hard he thought about it. He felt very aggrieved. Naturally, Old did not know that when Han Shu left, a demonic formation called so close, yet worlds apart activated. The demonic formation forcibly altered the laws of space, causing the distance between him and Han Shu to suddenly increase. Old, who did not understand the wonders of demonic formations, pursued Han Shu with all his might, but the distance between him and Han Shu only grew further and further. Donna and the others in the stone forest in the blind spot of the ninth realm mystical Yin Harvester were stunned. From their point of view, they saw a strange phenomenon. Han Sho was unhurriedly walking toward the depths of the ninth realm mystical harvester, while Old chased after him at lightning speed. Old was clearly using all his strength to chase after Han Sho, but the distance between the two was infinitely increasing. It looked like Old was rapidly retreating as he chased after Han Sho. The scene was extremely strange. The laws of space here seem to have been forcefully distorted. This is too strange. Who is the person who arranged everything here? Why does he seem to know everything? Donna mumbled to herself with a horrified face. Brian won't be in trouble, right? Li Wei asked in a panic. She watched as Han Sho walked step by step toward the depths of the ninth realm mystical harvester without turning back. She had a feeling that something was amiss, but she could not put her finger on it. Why do I feel that Brian is so harmonious with the environment here? It's as though he's at home here. He's not the least bit flustered and seems to be calm and unruffled. Bolton thought hard for a moment and subconsciously expressed his thoughts. Upon hearing his words, Li Wei cried out in surprise and exclaimed, "That's right, that's the feeling. I also feel that Brian's behavior here is as though he's at home. That familiarity with this place, that's the feeling." Donna was stunned by Bolton's and Li Wei's words. She pondered for a moment, and the doubts in her heart grew stronger. "Don't worry about Brian. Let's get rid of Erickson first." Donna shouted at Bolton and Li Wei in annoyance after thinking for a moment but could not figure it out. The few of them no longer wasted their breath. They stared at the dying Erickson and continued to bombard him indiscriminately. ***** On the other side, Han Sho was walking step by step toward the depths of the ninth realm mystical harvester. His footsteps were slow as he attentively observed everything he saw along the way. Han Sho became more and more amazed by the ninth realm mystical harvester as he ventured deeper into the formation. The summoning of his consciousness from the depths of the ninth realm mystical harvester became more frequent. All he saw along the way were bizarrely shaped demonic formations. Han Sho recognized almost all of them, and many of them were beyond his knowledge. Naturally, these terrifyingly powerful demonic formations had no intention of attacking Han Sho and allowed him to enter unimpeded. However, at the center of these bizarre demonic formations, Han Sho discovered a dozen or so skeletons. Some of these skeletons belonged to humans while others belonged to larger magical beasts. Han Sho also discovered 2 skeletons that belonged to the soul race. From these traces, Han Sho surmised that a great battle had taken place in this place 5,000 years ago. The original owner of the skeletal staff, the predecessors of the soul race, the gods of the Church of Light, and the ancestors of old who cultivated in the Edict of Life participated in that battle. In the end, the ancestors of the Druidic order who cultivated in the Edict of Life and the gods of the Church of Light emerged victorious. But what was certain was that they must have lost many gods to the demonic formations in this place. Through Han Sho's deep understanding of this gigantic ninth realm mystical harvester, and through Han Sho's general understanding of the many demonic formations in this place, Han Sho surmised that although each and every one of them wanted to explore the secrets of this place, none of them would be able to make it to the center of the ninth realm mystical harvester alive. Because the demonic formations in this place were too numerous and too terrifying. The summoning from the center of the ninth realm mystical harvester grew clearer and clearer. That intense summoning directly filled Han Sho's consciousness, carrying with it an evil and bewitching power that incessantly tempted Han Sho to go deeper. The summoning's influence on Han Sho grew stronger and stronger. It was so strong that Han Sho could not calm his mind and continued to observe his surroundings. Finally, Han Sho gave up on observing his surroundings in detail. Following the guidance of his consciousness, he quickly moved towards the center of the summoning. Soon, Han Sho arrived at the location of the summoning, the eye of the ninth realm mystical harvester. The eye of the array was covered with complicated runes, engraved with many ghostly images that Han Sho could not understand. There were curving tadpole-like lines that resembled the ancient oracle bone inscriptions of Han Sho's world. They appeared very mysterious and abstruse, making Han Sho unable to understand their meaning. The summoning to Han Shuo's consciousness came from under the eye of the array, but he did not know what it was. Han Shuo understood that for such a terrifyingly enormous ninth realm mystical harvester, apart from the mysterious patterns and runes, it also required a treasure that could support everything in the formation. Han Shuo had never heard of such an enormous demonic formation. Based on his understanding of demonic formations, the treasure that maintained everything in the formation must be far more precious than he could imagine. Han Shuo was about to walk towards the eye of the array when a crack the size of a well suddenly appeared in the eye of the array. A dozen or so mystical demons that had disappeared for a long time whizzed out. Han Shuo was greatly shocked. Not only did he not rush in, but he also rapidly retreated a few steps. Han Shuo guessed that those dozen or so mystical demons were the ones he had seen earlier. They were the souls of the corpses that had died in the surrounding demonic formations. These souls were at the divine realm. Inside such a mysterious ninth realm mystical harvester, they were extremely terrifying after they had transformed into mystical demons. Han Shuo had previously witnessed the terror of these mystical demons. Most importantly, these mystical demons were not like the demonic formations here. He was not immune to them. Han Shuo believed that he would not be able to withstand a dozen or so terrifying mystical demons coming out at him at the same time. He even had thoughts of retreating immediately. Contrary to Han Shuo's expectations, when he retreated, the dozen or so mystical demons did not whiz over. Instead, they circled around the hole the size of a well. Seeing that the dozen or so mystical demons did not pounce over, Han Shuo was greatly reassured. He carefully observed from afar, and only cautiously approached the hole when he realized that the dozen or so mystical demons did not seem to have any intention of pouncing over regardless of the consequences. All of a sudden, the summoning to his consciousness from the hole changed slightly, as though an order had been issued. The dozen or so mystical demons that were circling around the hole flew far away, whizzing over his head as they opened up a path, waiting for Han Shuo to come over. After hesitating for a moment, Han Shuo creased his brows and walked towards the hole apprehensively, not knowing what he was about to face. Before Han Shuo could poke his head out to see what was going on, a force was suddenly released from the hole. It instantly entangled Han Shuo's body and sucked Han Shuo inside. Chapter 662. Han Shuo felt the world spinning around him. Dizzy and disoriented, he struggled to regain his footing. When he looked up, Han Shuo suddenly discovered that he was inside an artifact. The top of his head was filled with abstruse and mysterious runes. Those runes were glistening with bloody radiance, and wriggling as though they were alive. Beneath his feet was a greenish-brown ground. The ground was very uneven and hard to the touch. Incomparably dense mystical aura filled the surroundings. The amount of mystical aura here far exceeded Han Shuo's imagination. It lingered around him like a faint mist and did not disperse. It could be directly inhaled into one's heart and lungs as one breathed. Han Shuo believed that if he were to cultivate in such a place, the speed at which he could accumulate demonic yuan would increase by 100-fold, or even faster. With a heart full of astonishment, Han Shuo continuously sized up his surroundings. He raised his head and discovered that there was a vast space above his head. Enormous shadows were hovering in the vast space. With a thought, Han Shuo was shocked to discover that the shadows hovering in the distance above his head were the dozen or so mystical demons hovering at the entrance of the cave. Since when did those mystical demons become so huge? Han Shuo was greatly astonished. Soon after, he had an idea. His body slightly shook as he used his consciousness to sense the surrounding situation even more meticulously. Sure enough, my body has shrunk. It seems that I have been pulled inside by some artifact. It's not those mystical demons that have become bigger. It seems that I have shrunk. Han Shuo cried out in surprise as he sensed the changes in his surroundings with his consciousness. After Han Shuo cried out in surprise, he suddenly discovered that the runes that were constantly flickering with bloody radiance were moving rapidly in a mysterious trajectory. An illusory energy appeared out of nowhere. Before Han Sho could figure out what was happening, that illusory energy suddenly established a bizarre connection with his consciousness. A message was transmitted to Han Sho. "I am Cauldron Spirit. Welcome, new master." Han Sho was startled. He did not understand the situation and subconsciously replied, "Who are you? What is this place? Who set up the ninth realm mystical Een Harvester? I am the Cauldron Spirit of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon. The one who deployed all the formations in the Cauldron of Myriad Demon was my original master, Gu Tianxia, the Exalted Demon Lord." The voice that called itself the Cauldron Spirit slowly explained to Han Sho. "Cauldron of Myriad Demons? Devil Lord Gu Tianxia? What was going on?" Han Sho was at a loss. His mind was in a mess. Han Sho pondered for a moment before he suddenly exclaimed, "I'm the new master of the Cauldron of Myriad Demons? What was going on? Where's the original owner?" The original owner, Gu Tianxia, the Exalted Demon Lord, had a great battle with an expert of this universe. Both sides suffered great losses. That expert was in hiding after suffering severe injuries. The Exalted Demon Lord had exhausted a great deal of his physical body to traverse across the universe and suffered devastating injuries. Before his death, he forcibly escaped to this material plane and set up everything here before his consciousness completely dissipated. The Exalted Demon Lord's consciousness completely dissipated a long time ago. I'm afraid you are the only demonic arts cultivator in this universe. Moreover, I was the one who brought you here. Therefore, from now on, you are my new master," Cauldron Spirit explained to Han Sho. Han Sho was extremely shocked. He nearly jumped up from his seat. Just how powerful was Gu Tianxia, the Exalted Demon Lord, to be able to spare the energy to set up everything here before his death? Was that god of this universe who fought the Exalted Demon Lord and survived even more powerful? As though it knew what was on Han Sho's mind, Cauldron Spirit angrily explained. The Exalted Demon Lord had just traversed across the universe and exhausted a great deal of energy before his consciousness completely dissipated. Otherwise, the one who died might not be the Exalted Demon Lord. Han Sho was stunned by Cauldron Spirit's explanation. He suddenly shuddered and hastily asked, "What do you mean by you were the one who brought me here?" "To be more precise, it was the Exalted Demon Lord and I who brought you here together. The Exalted Demon Lord arranged everything and I merely carried it out." Cauldron Spirit pondered for a moment before it explained. "There are tens of thousands of material planes in this universe. Don't you find it strange that your soul would only descend upon this material plane? Now that you put it that way, it does seem a little interesting." Han Sho thought to himself. Haven't you noticed that there are many traces left behind by the Exalted Demon Lord on this material plane? Do you really think that the 5 extreme locations were formed naturally? If it weren't for the Exalted Demon Lord's arrangements before his death, how could there be so many of the 5 extreme locations? Cauldron Spirit continued. Han Sho was startled. Soon after, he cried out in surprise, "So that's how it is. It's no wonder that even though I have been to the Abyss Realm, I have never discovered a single one of the 5 extreme locations in the vast Abyss Realm." The Exalted Demon Lord knew that he didn't have much time left. As the energy in his body was fading every second and his consciousness was dispersing, he was unable to bring an inheritor of demonic arts from another universe. Therefore, he could only use his remaining energy to arrange the 5 greatest extreme locations of the 5 extreme locations and wait for a suitable opportunity. That is, when someone's soul underwent a great transformation and the intense undulations of energy from traversing to this material plane, the Exalted Demon Lord's soul would be forcibly brought to this material plane in this universe. After the Exalted Demon Lord finished arranging all these, his consciousness gradually dissipated. However, that opportunity did not arrive and he ultimately perished. I, the Cauldron Spirit of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, have inherited the Exalted Demon Lord's dying wish and have been waiting for that opportunity all this time. I don't know how many years have passed, but your soul, under the great transformation, resonated with the undulations left behind by the Exalted Demon Lord. using the energy left behind by the exalted Demon Lord, I was able to forcibly bring your soul to this universe and precisely descend to this material plane. Han Sho was astounded. After listening to the Cauldron Spirit's explanation, he finally realized that the transmigration of his soul was not a coincidence. Everything was the catalyst left behind by the exalted Demon Lord Gu Tianxie and the Cauldron Spirit of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon. Your soul is simply too weak. In order to bring you safely from that universe and attach yourself to a physical body, I have exhausted too much of the energy here. As the Cauldron Spirit of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, I had no choice but to enter a deep slumber and continuously gather mystical aura from the 9th realm mystical harvester to recover. For a period of time after that, I did not know where you were. It was not until a while ago that I woke up and immediately started calling for you. However, you and I were too far apart, and I was still in a rather weak state. Therefore, you were unable to sense my calling and did not come to me. Just when I was about to take the risk and fly out of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, you miraculously arrived at the underground world and came all the way to this place. It seems that you are the one chosen by the exalted Demon Lord and that you will come to me by yourself sooner or later. The Cauldron Spirit said in a gratified manner. Han Sho found the Cauldron Spirit's words rather odd. He never expected that there would be such a peculiar Cauldron Spirit in the depths of the underground world, silently watching him and waiting for his arrival. This feeling made Han Sho feel somewhat touched. Why did Gu Tianxie go through so much trouble to bring someone over from our universe? If Gu Tianxie wanted to, he could have found a successor on this material plane and taken over everything here. I believe that doing so would have saved me a lot of effort. Han Sho asked in puzzlement. First of all, there were no highly intelligent beings on this material plane. More importantly, the exalted Demon Lord believed that everyone in this universe was alien and that his successor could only be chosen from his homeworld. He would never allow the alien races of this universe to inherit everything he had. Therefore, he did not hesitate to pay such a great price to bring you over from his homeworld rather than allow those alien races to inherit everything he had. The Cauldron Spirit explained. Han Sho silently nodded after listening to the Cauldron Spirit's explanation. Some ancient people had an unreasonable obsession with their old customs. Han Sho could understand Gu Tianxie's reasoning. After hearing the Cauldron Spirit's explanation, Han Sho realized that what happened to Gu Tianxie must have been a very long time ago. In that case, I am your new master? Han Sho suddenly asked after a moment of silence. That's right. You are the person chosen by both me and the exalted Demon Lord. You will inherit everything from the exalted Demon Lord and possess the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, which is me. The Cauldron Spirit answered affirmatively. Han Sho was overjoyed. He asked, what did Gu Tianxie leave for me? Also, what are the uses of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon? The exalted Demon Lord left you his understanding of the demonic path. As long as you continue down that path, you will become the next exalted Demon Lord and possess the power to destroy the world. However, this path will be very long, and you must be careful. As for me, if I were in your universe, I would be able to intimidate all demons and make all demonic cultivators submit to me. But in this universe, I am useless. As for what exactly I can bring you, you will soon feel it. The Cauldron Spirit transmitted. Feel what? Han Sho was stunned. Power. The Cauldron Spirit replied. After receiving the Cauldron Spirit's message, Han Sho suddenly discovered that the enormous amount of mystical aura within the Cauldron of Myriad Demon had suddenly transformed. Under Han Sho's attentive gaze, the condensed mystical aura suddenly gathered together. It was as though it was being compressed by the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, gradually evolving into a purer energy. You are too weak. The 9th realm mystical harvester had consumed a great deal of mystical aura in order to bring you here. Although the mystical aura that has been regathered over the years isn't much, it is still enough for you to take a big step forward. Open your mind and accept the changes this energy will bring to your body. Apart from that, you will also need to receive part of the exalted Demon Lord's understanding of the demonic path. Your consciousness is still too weak to accept too much at once. I will gradually pass it on to you in the future." The cauldron spirit suddenly shouted. Its enlightening voice reverberated in Han Shuo's consciousness. Even with Han Shuo's mental fortitude, he was so excited that he found it hard to control himself. Normally, he would be able to calm himself down with just a single breath, but this time, it took Han Shuo 10 times the amount of time. Chapter 663. Inside the cauldron of myriad demon, an enormous amount of mystical aura condensed into a gaseous form. Under the cauldron spirit's guidance, the condensed mystical aura flowed through Han Shuo's mouth and nose and into Han Shuo's body. The enormous ninth realm mystical harvester had been gathering mystical aura for many years. As soon as the mystical aura entered Han Shuo's body, Han Shuo didn't even need to think about it. The mystical aura rapidly flowed through his limbs and meridians and returned to his demonic infant. After listening to the cauldron spirit's explanation, Han Shuo opened up his mind and emptied his consciousness. He temporarily stopped thinking about any problems and allowed the demonic infant in his body to rapidly condense and digest the mystical aura according to the circulation path of demonic arts. Han Shuo had discovered a long time ago that the demonic yuan in his body grew faster when he didn't deliberately adjust everything. After opening up his mind, all of Han Shuo's actions were done subconsciously. There was no active interference from his consciousness. It was this state that allowed Han Shuo's demonic infant to unleash all of its potential. The cauldron spirit also played an important role in this process. It gathered the mystical aura, accelerated the condensation process, and pushed the mystical aura towards Han Shuo's demonic infant. Han Shuo's consciousness seemed to have returned to the state of a fetus. Unbeknownst to Han Shuo, the demonic infant in his body continued to condense an enormous amount of mystical aura. On one hand, it replenished the demonic infant's needs, and on the other hand, it spread the dissolved demonic yuan to every cell and bone in his body. Time passed by quickly and silently. Han Shuo's consciousness was ethereal and muddle-headed. Under the stimulation of the demonic yuan, his body crackled incessantly. Once again, he experienced the transformation of being reborn. The demonic infant in his body was also gradually transforming. The demonic infant that looked exactly the same as Han Shuo's was no longer indistinct. Instead, it was clearly visible. It was as though every pore on his body had suddenly become visible. The transformation of his body and the demon infant didn't stop. Han Shuo's divine sense suddenly trembled as a chaotic belief surged into his divine sense. In the next moment, Han Shuo suddenly woke up from his ethereal state. The piercing pain brought about by the transformation of his body and the demonic infant immediately surged into Han Shuo's soul. He almost couldn't help but let out a miserable howl. "I believe you should know that any sudden change will be accompanied by some pain. Not only do you have to endure this pain, but you also have to carefully comprehend what the exalted Demon Lord left for you in your consciousness. Otherwise, your state of mind will not be able to keep up with the power your body is increasing, which will be very disadvantageous to you in the future." Cauldron Spirit transmitted to Han Shuo. In that instant, Han Shuo understood everything that had happened to him. When his consciousness regained its clarity, he could clearly sense the transformation of his body and the demonic infant. He could sense that the enormous amount of mystical aura was still surging into his body and being converted by the demonic infant into demonic yuan that nourished his body. The enormous amount of mystical aura, after being converted into demonic yuan, would not only aid in the transformation of Han Shuo's body and demonic infant, but it could also help Han Shuo break through to the next realm. Of course, Han Shuo had to be in a realm that was compatible with his own strength. Han Shuo had to use his heart to comprehend the insights of the exalted Demon Lord's consciousness. Only by improving his realm to the level required by his body and demonic infant would Han Shuo be able to harvest the energy to the greatest extent. Otherwise, if he didn't have a strong enough state of mind to support the sudden influx of energy, he might end up suffering instead. After understanding all this, Han Shuo cut off his connection with Cauldron Spirit and no longer paid attention to the transformation of his body and demonic infant. He focused all of his attention on comprehending his consciousness and slowly comprehending the thing that had suddenly appeared in his consciousness. Gu Tianxia, the exalted demon lord's understanding of demonic energy was much more profound than Chu Kanglin's. The two were not even on the same level. The thing that filled Han Shuo's consciousness was like a cluster of violently fluctuating clouds. Without any words to describe it, Han Shuo had to use his consciousness to sense the changes in the cluster of clouds and search for the insights Gu Tianxia, the exalted demon lord, left him. At first, Han Shuo didn't know how to proceed. He tried to use the energy of his consciousness to sense everything within the cluster of clouds. However, Han Shuo soon realized that it would be futile. Han Shuo knew that the transformation of his body and demonic infant wouldn't end in a short period of time. Therefore, Han Shuo wasn't in a hurry. He calmed his mind, focused his attention, and tried to understand everything within the cluster of clouds bit by bit. After an unknown period of time, Han Shuo opened up his mind and discarded all distracting thoughts. Suddenly, he fell into some sort of bizarre state. He suddenly formed some sort of profound connection with the erratic and ever-changing cluster of clouds. Many chaotic and distracting thoughts shot out from the cloud in all directions in an instant. Those distracting thoughts were like sharp needles stabbing into Han Shuo's mind. Han Shuo's consciousness felt as though it had suffered a heavy blow, and was in agony. When his consciousness felt the piercing pain, the tearing pain from his body and demonic infant's transformation seemed to have increased tenfold in an instant. Han Shuo nearly fainted. Forcefully enduring the torturous pain, Han Shuo reassembled his consciousness. To his astonishment, he discovered that the distracting thoughts that had shot out in all directions had begun to reorganize themselves in a regular pattern when he reassembled his consciousness. This behavior was something that Han Shuo couldn't see with his naked eyes, but he could perceive with his consciousness. Suddenly, Han Shuo, whose face was contorted by the intense pain, instantly quieted down. He remained seated in a cross-legged posture like an immutable boulder, dead silent. During this process, Han Shuo's body continued to emit a brilliant curtain of light. The transformation of his body and demonic infant continued. After an unknown period of time, the extremely dense mystical yin qi within the cauldron of myriad demon gradually thinned out. The speed at which it flowed to Han Shuo's mouth and nose also slowed down. After another long period of time, all of the mystical yin qi within the cauldron of myriad demons seemed to have been cleansed by a strong gust of wind. Han Shuo's body also stopped glowing. After another long period of time, Han Shuo's fingers, which had been silent for God knows how long, suddenly trembled. After a while, Han Shuo's eyebrows twitched repeatedly. He opened his eyes and slowly woke up from that wondrous state. "Congratulations, new master! You have directly broken through a realm!" The cauldron spirit's voice suddenly sounded in Han Shuo's consciousness. Han Shuo's eyes were filled with bewilderment. It was as though he had just woken up from a long dream. For a moment, he couldn't make sense of his current situation. After the cauldron spirit's voice sounded, Han Shuo started to ponder with his brows bunched. He slowly recalled everything that had happened to him. Gradually, Han Shuo's brows smoothed out as though he had grasped something. He followed that clue and sank into deep thought. After a while, Han Shuo suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. He stood up from his cross-legged sitting position, twisted his body, clenched his fists, and sensed the changes that had occurred to his body. "Your body has once again undergone a complete transformation. Your demonic infant has also undergone a transformation. You have made great progress compared to before," the cauldron spirit transmitted to Han Shuo's consciousness. Even without the cauldron spirit's explanation, Han Shuo could sense the changes that had occurred to his demonic infant and his body. The demonic yuan circulating in his body seemed to have undergone a qualitative transformation. It was as though it had turned into liquid and was slowly flowing through his limbs and bones like a trickle. Every cell and every bone in his body seemed to be brimming with boundless energy. With a single thought, that energy seemed ready to overflow. The demonic infant did not seem to have undergone too many changes. However, when Han Sho looked within himself, he discovered that the demonic infant, the source of his energy, had turned from blurry to incomparably clear. It truly resembled an infant that had been reborn. The changes to his body and demonic infant made Han Sho a little uncomfortable for a moment. There were some significant changes that he could not comprehend in the short term. He was slowly trying to familiarize himself with them. Master, you have already reached the Omen realm. I believe you should already know how to continue cultivating in this realm. Han Sho stared blankly for a moment before he became puzzled and said, Yes. Carefully comprehend everything that the exalted demon lord left in your consciousness. You will gradually understand, the cauldron spirit reminded. Han Sho suddenly discovered that there were indeed some indescribable insights in his consciousness. The next moment, Han Sho suddenly recalled that he was in a wondrous state just now and had some intuitive understandings of the Nine Changes realm. I got it. Haha, I have actually reached the Omen realm. That Chu Kanglin has been painstakingly searching for a way to break through the Nine Changes realm and reach the Omen realm, but to no avail. He did not expect that I would take this step so easily. According to legend, only those who have reached the Omen realm can ascend to the immortal realm. Am I now one of the so-called gods of my world? After coming to his senses, Han Sho laughed heartily and shouted loudly inside the cauldron of myriad demon. Han Sho could not help but feel excited. Back then, Chu Kanglin had coerced him into fighting a monk and a Taoist priest in order to break through the shackles of his body and reach the Omen realm. Unfortunately, in the end, Chu Kanglin's efforts were in vain. Instead, Han Sho's soul was transported to the profound plane of this universe. It was as though everything had been predestined. Now that he had reached a realm that even Chu Kanglin did not have the opportunity to touch, it meant that Han Sho had finally surpassed Chu Kanglin. To Han Sho, this was a knot in his heart. He had finally walked out from the shadow of Chu Kanglin. The mysticaline aura that the Ninth Realm mysticaline harvester has gathered over the years has all been used on you. As the core of the formation guarding this place, I have used up some of my energy to guide you to this place. I'm afraid that this place won't be able to hold on for much longer, Cauldron Spirit suddenly said after Han Sho gradually calmed down from his excitement. What do you mean? Han Sho was startled. Everything in this place can be destroyed, and it must be destroyed. Otherwise, there will be an endless stream of people coming to investigate everything that happened here. Those who came with you this time should only be the vanguard. If this place is not destroyed, there will be even more people coming to investigate. I have been in charge of this place for a long time and I have long known how they operate, Cauldron Spirit said indifferently. Upon hearing those words, Han Sho's heart jolted and he immediately realized what Cauldron Spirit meant. That's right. The Ninth Realm mysticaline harvester was so mysterious. Many experts from advanced material planes had disappeared in this place for no apparent reason many years ago. Those people's interest in this place would not diminish. Donna Kaiser and the others should only be the first batch to investigate. If they did not receive any news from Donna Kaiser and the others, they would definitely send more people over. Even if Han Sho destroyed the only interplanet transportation matrix on Profound Continent, the Cemetery of Death, they would still find other ways to enter this place, just like Old did. Only when everything in this place was destroyed and there was nothing left that could amaze them would they give up on this place. Then, Profound Continent would truly be at peace and would no longer be disturbed by experts from alien material planes. Fortunately, you came and got in touch with me. As long as you and I are here, everything can be recreated. There really is no need for this place to exist anymore. As long as I am here and you are strong enough, you will be able to deploy everything in this place with your immense power. But before that, you must do your best to conceal the traces of you cultivating in demonic arts. That person who fought against the exalted demon lord back then was extremely powerful. Once he learns of your existence, he will not hesitate to obliterate you. After such a long time, I wonder if that person has recovered. But even if he hasn't, killing you is as easy as flipping his palm. Therefore, from now on, you better not let anyone know that you cultivate in demonic arts, lest that person learns of it. Cauldron Spirit seemed to be very wary of that expert who fought against Gu Tianxia. It cautiously reminded Han Shuo. Han Shuo nodded solemnly and replied, I understand. From now on, I will try my best not to display demonic arts in front of others. But once I do, I will not let anyone who sees me live. It's good that you understand. Also, after your body has been reborn, you can use the energy of your two avatars to conceal the fact that your main body cultivates in demonic arts. You can give it a try. Han Shuo was pleasantly surprised to hear those words. He followed Cauldron Spirit's instructions and tried to utilize the energy of his avatar of death, the skeletal staff. As soon as he did so, Han Shuo cried out in surprise, Not bad. There's no obstruction at all. Han Shuo could sense that the energy of his avatar of death, the skeletal staff, could flow unimpeded through his main body. In the blink of an eye, Han Shuo's temperament changed dramatically. It was as though his main body had become an avatar of death. However, Han Shuo could clearly sense that the energy came from the skeletal staff in his body. He was merely borrowing the energy of the skeletal staff. You can use the energy of both avatars. As long as you don't use demonic arts, no one will be able to tell that you have cultivated in demonic arts. Also, that avatar formed from a demonic weapon contains a large number of impure souls and demonic auras. I need to help you gather those negative energies and weak dead souls. Otherwise, it will affect your avatar's ability to comprehend the energy of this world. Cauldron Spirit continued. Han Shuo suddenly recalled that the demon's lair edge had absorbed some negative energies and vengeful souls. After hearing Cauldron Spirit's explanation, Han Shuo suddenly realized that the reason why his avatar of destruction couldn't make any further progress in the Edict of Destruction might be because, as Cauldron Spirit said, the energy was too impure and impure. However, those negative energies and vengeful souls were also a kind of energy. Han Shuo would be rather reluctant to let Cauldron Spirit erase them. Don't worry, the 3 spirit demons you refined can take over all of those energies. I will take care of everything for you. With that, your spirit demons will grow and your avatar will be able to comprehend the energy it cultivates without any obstruction. Everyone will be happy with that. Cauldron Spirit explained as though it knew what Han Shuo was thinking. That's great! Han Shuo was overjoyed. He laughed heartily and felt relieved. He thought that with such a Cauldron Spirit, many things would become easier for him. Chapter 664. As the soul of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, the Cauldron Spirit knew everything about the Cauldron of Myriad Demon like the back of its hand. It was of great help to Han Shuo. At the Cauldron Spirit's command, Han Shuo's avatar of destruction flew out from his main body, transformed into the demon's lair edge, and landed inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon. The 3 spirit demons Han Shuo refined also flew out, and floated around inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon. What do you want me to do? Han Shuo asked the Cauldron Spirit. I will help you transfer the negative energy and weak soul energy inside the demonic weapon to the spirit demons. Don't worry, there won't be any problems, the Cauldron Spirit replied. Is there anything I need to do? Han Shuo asked. You just need to leave the cauldron and drip a drop of your blood into the cauldron to complete the master recognition process. Once the master recognition process is complete, I will be inside your body and we will be able to communicate with each other at any time, the Cauldron Spirit replied. How can I leave? Han Shuo suddenly recalled that he was forcibly pulled into the Cauldron of Myriad Demon by the energy inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon. Fly out. The energy binding you has disappeared, the Cauldron Spirit replied. Han Shuo stared blankly for a moment. He gave it a try and discovered that the energy binding him above his head had indeed disappeared. With one thought, Han Shuo flew out of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon Cauldron. He suddenly felt the demonic yuan in his body that had condensed into liquid form surging violently like a mountain torrent. The speed at which he flew out was so fast that Han Shuo couldn't get used to it for a while. Han Shuo found himself at the center of the enormous ninth realm mystical Een harvester after passing through the cauldron's mouth. He moved closer to the mouth of the cauldron, and saw a three-legged cauldron about a meter tall. The surface of the cauldron was covered with bizarre runes and glistened with green radiance. Clouds and mist lingered around the cauldron, obscuring its condition. Under Han Shuo's attentive gaze, the cauldron of myriad demons slowly rose from the mouth of the cauldron and hovered in front of Han Shuo. It gradually shrank until it was the size of Han Shuo's palm. "Drip a drop of your blood into the cauldron. From today onwards, you are the new master of the cauldron of myriad demon." Cauldron Spirit's voice sounded from the mouth of the cauldron of myriad demon. As soon as Han Shuo heard Cauldron Spirit's instructions, he made a small cut on the middle finger of his right hand and forced his blood into the cauldron of myriad demon. "Enough!" shouted the Cauldron Spirit inside the cauldron of myriad demon. Blood sprayed into the cauldron of myriad demon. In an instant, the cauldron glowed brightly, and some of the runes on the cauldron's surface seemed to come alive, wriggling like earthworms. From afar, the ancient runes that resembled earthworms formed a sinister and terrifying image, appearing extremely evil and mysterious. A mysterious connection was formed between Han Shuo and Cauldron Spirit after his blood spurted out. Han Shuo stared at the cauldron of myriad demon with glistening eyes. He remained in that position for a few seconds. Suddenly, he received another message from Cauldron Spirit in his consciousness. "All right, from today onwards you are my new master." After receiving this message, the cauldron of myriad demons spun in his palm and flew into his body from his palm amidst a hazy green radiance. Using his consciousness, Han Shuo discovered that the cauldron of myriad demon had shrunk to the size of a palm. It was like an organ of his body, located above his lower abdomen. "Master, everything in this place will collapse and dissipate upon my departure. This is something that the exalted Demon Lord has long planned. Before that happens, there will be an earth-shattering upheaval. You'd better leave this place as soon as possible before it happens, lest you suffer the aftershock of the ninth realm mystical Een harvester's destruction," Cauldron Spirit reminded. Han Shuo was astounded. After hearing Cauldron Spirit's words, he carefully sensed the changes in his surroundings. He suddenly discovered that everything in this place seemed to be slowly changing, just as Cauldron Spirit had said. Deep and muffled noises could be heard coming from within the majestic mountains. At a glance, Han Shuo felt as though the mountains were on the verge of collapse. How long will it take before it is completely destroyed? Also, how long has it been since I started absorbing the mystical Een aura in the cauldron? Han Shuo hastily asked. This place will be completely destroyed within 2 hours. Not a single trace will be left behind. No one in this universe should be able to discover anything from the exalted Demon Lord's arrangements. You can rest assured. You have stayed in the cauldron for a total of 9 days. 9 by 9 is a cycle. It is now 9 days later, Cauldron Spirit replied. Han Shuo was greatly astonished. He wasn't astonished by the length of time he spent in the cauldron. On the contrary, he was astonished by how short the time he spent in the cauldron was. According to Han Shuo's experience, the time required for each breakthrough to the next realm would be longer. At the juncture of a breakthrough, the strengthening of one's body might take several months of effort. A complete breakthrough would take even longer. Han Shuo originally thought that he would have stayed in the cauldron for several years or even decades. He didn't expect that he would only stay for a few days. The situation here was personally arranged by the exalted Demon Lord. It is rather special and I played a part in it. Therefore, the time limit was shortened to 9 days. You don't have to be surprised. Cauldron Spirit transmitted as though it could read Han Shuo's thoughts. It was only after hearing Cauldron Spirit's explanation that Han Shuo came to a sudden realization. With such a terrifying character as Gu Tianxia, the exalted Demon Lord, and the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, it was reasonable that the process could be shortened to 9 days. What about those people inside the various formations? Are they all dead? Han Shuo's heart stirred as he suddenly asked. Not yet. If you want them to die, they can die. If you want them to live, they can still live, Cauldron Spirit replied. What do you mean? Han Shuo asked. Before the 9th realm mystical Een harvester is completely destroyed, I can still use everything in this place. When you entered the Cauldron Spirit, I used the formations deployed by the exalted Demon Lord to isolate and imprison those people. The formations that imprison them are still active. As long as you wish, I can kill them at any time, Cauldron Spirit calmly replied. It seemed that by using the demonic formations that had yet to be destroyed, Kaiser, Erickson, and even Old would be able to destroy them with just a wave of his hand. That's great. However, there are some people that I want to kill with my own hands. There are also some people that I can spare from death. They will be of use to me in the future, Han Shuo instructed. No problem, Cauldron Spirit replied. Just as Han Shuo was about to leave, the dozen or so mystical demons that had been hovering in the surroundings suddenly whizzed towards Han Shuo. Han Shuo was startled. However, before Han Shuo could put up any defensive measures, he immediately felt the Cauldron Spirit tremble slightly in his body. Shortly after, Han Shuo discovered that the mouth of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon had emerged from his lower abdomen and sucked in the dozen or so mystical demons. Master, I can directly form demon generals with powerful souls inside the cauldron. Apart from being able to intimidate 10,000 demons, the other meaning of the Cauldron of Myriad Demon's name is that it can contain 10,000 demons. The main source of my power is also determined by the number and strength of the demon generals inside the cauldron. Before the exalted Demon Lord fought that being in this universe, there were tens of thousands of demon generals of various sizes inside the cauldron. Among them, there were close to 1,000 demon generals as powerful as these dozen or so mystical demons. There were more than 200 demon generals that were even more powerful than these mystical demons. Many of the exalted Demon Lord's opponents were directly refined to death without the exalted Demon Lord's hands. However, in the battle with that person, I exhausted nearly 10,000 demon generals, which is why I'm so weak. Even these dozen or so demon generals were only gathered when the exalted Demon Lord's consciousness completely dissipated, Cauldron Spirit explained. Does that mean that as long as an expert's soul is enveloped before their death, they can be refined into demon generals inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon? The more demon generals you form in the cauldron, the stronger they are, and the greater your power? Han Shuo was extremely shocked and hastily asked. There were tens of thousands of souls inside the demon's lair edge, but compared to the demon generals inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, those souls were like ants compared to a towering mountain. The demon generals formed inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, such as these mystical demons, were enough to make a god suffer unspeakably. Even the vile souls formed by the demon's lair edge couldn't compare to one of the dozen or so mystical demons inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon. According to Cauldron Spirit, these mystical demons formed from the souls of gods weren't even the most powerful demon generals inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon. Han Shuo didn't even dare to imagine how terrifying the Cauldron of Myriad Demon was back then. That's right. The more demon generals there are in the cauldron, the stronger they are, and the more powerful I will be and the more useful I will be. However, the souls that can form demon generals inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon generals must be at least as weak as the ones you use to refine spirit demons. The demon generals formed by those souls are of the lowest grade. If the soul energy is slightly weaker, it won't be able to form demon generals inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon generals and can only be used to devour demonic aura. The Cauldron Spirit bluntly attacked Han Shuo. Han Shuo put on a bitter smile. He didn't expect that only souls with demigod strength could form demon generals inside the Cauldron of Myriad Demon generals, and demon generals of the lowest grade at that. It would appear that the so-called spirit demons he refined from the orc shaman were simply insignificant in comparison. Those spirit demons I refined can evolve. Are they considered powerful? Han Shuo asked the Cauldron Spirit dispiritedly. The basic materials you use to refine spirit demons are of too low a grade. The spirit demons that take shape don't have much room for development. They aren't even as powerful as the mystical demons I refined. When you are able to collect more powerful souls and let me refine them into spirit demons, you will know how great the difference is. The cauldron spirit continued to provoke Han Shuo. Only low gods and mid-gods could refine mystical demons in the cauldron of myriad demon generals. Then, what kind of souls would be needed to refine spirit demons of a higher grade? High gods? Han Shuo didn't dare to imagine. He then recalled what the cauldron spirit had said. It said that there were more powerful demon generals than the mystical demons he had now refined. He reckoned that there were more than 200 spirit demons in the cauldron of myriad demon generals. What did this mean? The souls of more than 200 high gods? Han Shuo was speechless. Han Shuo suddenly felt that the 3 spirit demons he refined were like children playing house when compared to the cauldron of myriad demon. Suddenly, Han Shuo lost all interest in the 3 spirit demons that he had painstakingly refined. Comparisons were odious. Han Shuo shook his head and smiled wryly. You are my master, and the demon generals in the cauldron of myriad demon generals are under your control. I think it's better to leave the 3 little spirit demons in the cauldron of myriad demon generals. In the future, when you collect soul energy, some of the weaker souls that can't form demon generals can absorb some demonic energy. What do you think? The cauldron spirit asked for Han Shuo's opinion. Do as you see fit. Come on, let's leave this place. I'll go to Ericsson's place and kill him first. After listening to Cauldron Spirit's words, Han Shuo no longer had any interest in the 3 spirit demons. He urged the Cauldron Spirit to hurry up. The Cauldron Spirit pointed out the location that Han Shuo wanted to go to and became silent. Before the 9th realm mystical Een harvester was completely destroyed, everything in this place was still under the Cauldron Spirit's control. This also meant that Han Shuo had become the master of this place. Han Shuo expanded his consciousness through the Cauldron Spirit. He suddenly discovered that after establishing a connection with the Cauldron Spirit, the range of his consciousness had increased by several times. He was able to see everything in his surroundings in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Han Shuo had figured out everything that had happened in his surroundings. He discovered that Donna, Li Wei, and the others were still in that blind spot. The only difference was that the way to leave that area had changed. As they did not understand the mysteries of the formation, they were all trapped and unable to leave. Ericsson and Kaiser were trapped by the misty illusory matrix in the same area. They were still exhausted and circling around the small area. Old and Kelly were even further away. Old seemed to have given up on his futile efforts and lay down on the ground as though he had fallen asleep. Kelly, on the other hand, was fumbling around, anxiously looking for a way out. Through the Cauldron Spirit's description, Han Shuo learned that Old was the most powerful among them. The area that the Cauldron Spirit had trapped him in was a demonic combination formation. In the few days before Han Shuo regained consciousness, Old had tried every method possible but to no avail. It was only after a few days that he finally calmed down. I don't know what kind of relationship you have with them, so I didn't kill any of them. I only trapped them all. The Cauldron Spirit transmitted. Very good. Some of them are still useful to me. I won't kill them for the time being. Two of them are going to die immediately. As for the other 2, I haven't decided whether I should kill them or not. Han Shuo transmitted to the Cauldron Spirit while walking towards the area where Kaiser and Ericsson were. Before obtaining the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, Han Shuo was already able to move unimpeded in this place. Now, he was even more so. Soon enough, Han Shuo arrived at the illusory boundary where Ericsson and Kaiser were. While the 2 were searching for a way out, exhausted, Han Shuo's figure suddenly appeared from the boundless mist. Are the 2 of you looking for a way out? Han Shuo put on a carefree smile as he looked at the haggard and despairing Ericsson and Kaiser. Anyone else would be just as despairing and haggard as they were after walking in circles in the same place for 9 days in a row. Han Shou's appearance was like a ray of hope. The two battered and exhausted Erickson were suddenly startled. They looked at Han Shou in amazement and simultaneously cried out, "How did you get here? Where did you come from?" "I came from the outside world." "Hee, the two of you look really interesting," Han Shou replied in a calm and unruffled manner. "Brat, regardless of whether I can get out or not, I'm going to kill you first," Erickson said coldly and sternly after hearing Han Shou's mockery. "That's great. I'm here to personally send you off. Let's see who dies first." Han Shou laughed heartily. This was the perfect opportunity for him to test out his new realm of omen. Chapter 665. Every advancement in demonic arts would greatly enhance one's strength. After breaking through the Nine Changes realm and attaining the Omen realm, Han Shou believed that his main body would be completely different from before in every aspect. Kaiser and Erickson had been lost in this illusory formation for 9 days and were utterly exhausted. This was the perfect opportunity for Han Shou to take them down in one fell swoop. At the very least, with Cauldron Spirit around, not only could Han Shou utilize the dozen or so mystical demons in the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, he could also use the demonic formations that had not been completely destroyed. No matter how one looked at it, it wouldn't be too difficult for Han Shou to kill Kaiser and Erickson. Han Shou was absolutely confident, but Kaiser and Erickson did not understand why he had so many trump cards. When they heard that Han Shou would personally send them off, they immediately thought that Han Shou had gone mad. Even a fool would know that a mere low god would die without a doubt when facing two mid-gods like them. How could he have any chance of winning? Ha ha! Erickson looked at Han Shou as though he was looking at a dead man. His face was filled with disdain. He shrugged and said in a relaxed manner, "Come, I'm standing right here. Let's see how you're going to kill me. Even if we've exhausted too much of our divine energy, it's not something a low god like you can act presumptuously against. Erickson, don't kill him in one go. Before you kill him, ask him how he got in here." Kaiser casually instructed Erickson as he closed his eyes and began to recover his divine energy without looking at Han Shou. The two had been trapped for a long time without being able to find a way out. Han Shou's sudden arrival had brought them a ray of hope. Erickson might have wanted Han Shou to die first, but Kaiser was different from him. He only wanted to leave this troublesome place as soon as possible. After Kaiser's reminder, Erickson coldly groaned and said, "I don't need your reminder. I know what to do." The corners of Kaiser's mouth curved into a helpless, bitter smile. He shook his head and did not say anything else. Kaiser knew that Erickson was still holding a grudge against him for watching indifferently as Erickson was besieged 9 days ago. That incident had torn a tear in their friendship that would be difficult to heal. "Oh? You're that confident?" Han Shou asked unruffled as he sized up Erickson smilingly. If he had not obtained the Cauldron of Myriad Demon, and had not broken through to the realm of Omen, Han Shou would have run for his life upon seeing Erickson. However, things were different now. Since Han Shou dared to stand so fearlessly in front of him, he was naturally confident. Erickson stared blankly for a moment after hearing Han Shou's words. He was a little puzzled as to why Han Shou dared to stand before him, and not flee. The demonic blades returned to Erickson's abdomen and rotated a few times inside his body. Amidst the bone-chilling sounds of bone fracturing, scarlet blood spurted out from Erickson's pierced body like a ruptured water pipe. Erickson was indescribably terrified. He wanted to break free from the state, but Han Shou's hand was firmly gripping him, rendering him immobile. "Stop!" Kaiser, who was recuperating his divine energy with his eyes closed, roared. A strong beam of light shot out from his mouth and shot straight at Han Shou's back. Hee. Han Shou chuckled sinisterly in a low voice, as though he had long anticipated that Kaiser would seize the opportunity to attack. With a swing of his large hand that was holding Erickson, Ericsson's bloody body was suddenly thrown towards the intense light spewing out of Kaiser's mouth. Ah! Ericsson wailed like a ghost and howled like a wolf after being struck by Kaiser's strong beam of light. See that? He wants to kill you too! Han Sho rejoiced in Ericsson's misfortune. He thrust one of his arms into Ericsson's body and lifted the still-alive Ericsson up high, forcing him to face Kaiser. Perhaps it was due to excessive blood loss or the fact that Ericsson couldn't tell what was going on due to his severe injuries. Ericsson, who had his body pierced through by Han Sho's hand and hung high in the air, stared at Kaiser with eyes full of resentment. Han Sho knew that Kaiser's venomous eyes should have been aimed at him. However, Han Sho had forced those eyes on Kaiser. Kaiser had a guilty conscience. When he met Ericsson's eyes, he panicked and hastily explained, Ericsson, don't listen to his nonsense. I want to help you. Kaiser, you bastard! I'm going to kill you! All of a sudden, Ericsson, who was hung high in the air by Han Sho, flew towards Kaiser with bared fangs and brandished claws. Kaiser was exceptionally flustered. He retreated in a flurry and explained repeatedly, I really want to help you, Ericsson. Are you crazy? Our enemy should be behind you. Bang! Kaiser, who was retreating in a sorry state, finally managed to evade Ericsson's brandishing claws with great difficulty. Suddenly, he felt a great force rush into his back. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his footsteps became disorderly. Kaiser, you bastard! How does it feel? Han Sho smirked with a complacent look on his face when Kaiser turned around. It's you? Kaiser suddenly realized that Han Sho was using Ericsson's voice to speak. He turned his head to look at Ericsson and discovered that Ericsson was limp and paralyzed on the ground. He had lost all mobility. It was only then that he realized that Ericsson's brandishing claws was secretly manipulated by Han Sho. Naturally, those words were also spoken by Han Sho. Of course it's me. Ericsson is already done for. Why would he still have the energy to shout? You are too foolish. Han Sho ridiculed Kaiser smilingly. He watched as Kaiser coughed up large mouthfuls of blood after his sneak attack. Kaiser appeared very calm. Master, that guy's soul energy isn't weak. He can form a demon general. Cauldron spirit transmitted to Han Sho. Very good. What should I do? Han Sho immediately asked. Very simple. Let me out and I will handle it. Cauldron spirit replied. With one thought, the cauldron of myriad demon whizzed out from above Han Sho's lower abdomen. It instantly landed beside Ericsson, who was lying in a pool of blood, and enveloped him. The mouth of the cauldron of myriad demon was facing downwards. The runes on the cauldron of myriad demon started twisting and turning. As the master of the cauldron of myriad demon, Han Sho could clearly sense that Ericsson's divine soul was sucked into the cauldron of myriad demon. The light dimmed and the cauldron of myriad demon whizzed back to Han Sho and entered Han Sho's body. Han Sho then looked at Ericsson, who was lying in a pool of blood. His divine soul was gone and his eyes were white. There was no longer any possibility of resurrection. You killed Ericsson? Kaiser's voice trembled as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He could hardly believe what he had just seen. Han Sho shrugged and put on a somewhat sinister smile as he said, Don't be surprised. You are about to follow in Ericsson's footsteps. Inside the cauldron of myriad demon, you will be able to keep each other company. You won't be lonely. Do you think you can kill me? It seemed that Kaiser still did not understand the situation. He felt that Han Sho had killed Ericsson due to his sneak attack and the fact that Ericsson was gravely injured. Han Sho laughed maniacally and didn't reply to Kaiser's words. With one thought, he twisted his hands and shot rays of demonic light from his fingers at the space around Kaiser, flashing and disappearing in the air. Kaiser initially thought that Han Sho was going to attack him. But when he discovered that all the rays of demonic light from Han Sho's palms were hitting empty air, he grinned and asked, What's wrong? You can't even hit the target? Han Sho didn't answer, but continued to laugh. Demonic light continued to shoot out from his fingers, landing in the air around Kaiser like fireworks in an instant. Suddenly, Han Sho stopped his aimless attack. He stared at Kaiser and asked with a mischievous smile, "Can you feel it?" "What?" Kaiser was stunned and somewhat baffled. "It's the trembling of space, you fool!" Han Sho was all smiles as he walked towards Kaiser step by step. The demonic blades in his hands were once again unfolded. Kaiser's expression changed drastically when he heard Han Sho's reminder. He discovered that the space around him was trembling. The trembling grew from weak to strong, affecting his body and divine soul. He felt powerless and drowsy. Spatial manipulation was a method of attack in the Nine Changes realm. Han Sho had comprehended how to use his energy from Cauldron Spirit. It was a good chance for him to try it out on Kaiser. The space around him was violently distorted like ripples on water. Under Han Sho's watchful eyes, Kaiser's body was also contorted. Blood was flowing out of his 7 orifices. It was as though he was trapped in a giant whirlpool, powerlessly enduring all the blows. Very soon, under the influence of spatial manipulation, Kaiser, who was already exhausted and had suffered a sneak attack from Han Sho on his back, had his body contorted. Bloody wounds began to appear on his body. Blood began to sprinkle down like a fine rain. The cauldron of myriad demon that had just returned to Han Sho's body flew out again. It enlarged in midair and enveloped the dying Kaiser. A green light flashed and Kaiser's divine soul was sucked into the cauldron of myriad demon. Without the support of his divine soul, Kaiser's body turned into a puddle of blood under the influence of spatial manipulation. His bones were ground into bone powder and turned to ashes. "Master, you will soon have 2 more mystical demons!" Cauldron Spirit transmitted after the cauldron of myriad demon returned to Han Sho's body. Not bad at all," Han Sho praised. Then, after thinking for a moment, he asked Cauldron Spirit, "In your opinion, what are my chances of winning if I fight those 2 head-on without resorting to sneak attacks?" Although Han Sho had tested his current realm, he was unable to ascertain the true strength of his main body through the 2 sneak attacks, in addition to the fact that Erickson and Kaiser had expended too much of their divine energy, and their concentration was much weaker than before. But Han Sho believed that Cauldron Spirit should be able to give him an objective answer. As expected, Cauldron Spirit kept silent for a moment, as though carefully weighing the pros and cons. After a while, it answered, "Master, if the 2 of them were not injured from the start and their minds were not affected by the demonic formations, you would be able to easily kill any one of them. In a one-on-one fight, you, who is in the Omen realm, would be able to easily kill any one of them without borrowing the strength of your avatar or mine. If they were at their peak, it would be rather difficult for you to win without relying on external objects. But if you are as good at stratagem as you were just now, you would have a chance of winning. If you rely on my strength and I use my mystical demons to distract one of them, it would not be a problem for you to defeat the 2 of them. Among so many experts here, the only person who is resting with his eyes closed is the one you cannot defeat for the time being. Only after you have completely familiarized yourself with the Omen realm will you have a chance of defeating him." At present, even if you borrow my strength, you would at most be able to gain a slight upper hand. It is not very likely that you will be able to kill him. This is because I do not have powerful demon generals at my disposal. Also, your strength is limited and you cannot fully utilize my strength. If we wish to kill him, we will have to rely on the demonic formations deployed by the exalted Demon Lord. According to Han Sho's secret observations, he guessed that Kaiser and Erickson were early-stage mid-gods. Donna was perhaps a little stronger than the 2 of them. Moreover, Donna seemed to possess a powerful divine weapon. Therefore, she appeared calm and unruffled when fighting both Kaiser and Erickson alone. The person who was resting with his eyes closed was old. According to Han Sho's understanding, old should possess late-stage mid-god strength. According to Cauldron Spirit's explanation, Han Sho came to a conclusion that his main body in the Omen realm, without borrowing any external energy, should possess strength similar to that of Dana, a mid-stage mid-god. According to Cauldron Spirit's words, after thoroughly familiarizing himself with the Omen realm, he would be able to defeat Old, who was a late-stage mid-god. Han Sho was incomparably pleasantly surprised when he learned of his true strength. Han Sho couldn't help but be excited that he, who had made great progress in demonic arts in just 9 short days, possessed such strength. Chapter 666. After the Cauldron Spirit collected Erickson and Kaiser's divine souls, Han Sho did not remain idle. He resumed his old trade of looting Kaiser and Erickson's belongings after their deaths. As his strength gradually increased, it had been a long time since Han Sho made a fortune from the dead. That was because his previous opponents were not worthy of Han Sho's efforts. Kaiser and Erickson were mid-gods. Han Sho believed that they must have some valuable items on them. Han Sho took out 2 space rings from the mangled corpses and put them away. According to the Cauldron Spirit, the 9th realm mystical Harvester would be completely destroyed within a short period of time. When the 9th realm mystical Harvester was destroyed, this place would undergo earth-shaking changes. If Han Sho did not wish to be implicated, he would have to leave this place as soon as possible. Donna, Bolton, and the others were important figures who would guide him to Elysium. Naturally, Han Sho couldn't let them die here. Otherwise, Han Sho would not know a single soul on Elysium, and it would be very difficult for him to reach Elysium in the future. Under the Cauldron Spirit's instructions, Han Sho flew towards the area where Donna and the others were imprisoned. Along the way, he wondered if he should take this opportunity to kill Old as well. He understood that if he couldn't kill Old inside the demonic formation, it wouldn't be easy to kill him once Old left the demonic formation. However, there was no deep hatred between him and Old. On the other hand, Kelly of the Druidic Order had some friendly relations with Han Sho. The Druidic Order was Lancelot Empire's most reliable ally. On top of that, Old did not show any hostility towards Han Sho. This made Han Sho rather hesitant. With the Cauldron Spirit manipulating the demonic formation, killing Old wouldn't be difficult. What worried Han Sho the most was what would happen after Old's death. One thing for sure was that once Old was dead, the Church of Light, the Druidic Order, and the others would no longer know anything about the 9th realm mystical Harvester. If those people couldn't receive any news about this place, they would surely come to Profound Continent again. When that time comes, who knows how much trouble they would cause. Cauldron Spirit seemed to know what was on Han Sho's mind and suggested, "Don't kill this person for the time being. Let those people know that everything in this place has been destroyed and cut off their thoughts of exploring. That way, there won't be an endless stream of people coming here." After pondering for a moment, Han Sho silently nodded. He too believed that now was not the time to get rid of Old. Old should be more valuable alive than dead. After making his decision, Han Sho decided to let Old go first. While Han Sho was pondering in silence, he followed Cauldron Spirit's directions and arrived at the stone forest where Donna and Bolton had been staying. After Han Sho left, Cauldron Spirit had sealed off this blind spot. Not a single person was allowed to leave the stone forest for 9 days. The moment Han Sho emerged from the layers of mist, Donna and the others who had been trapped for 9 days could hardly contain their excitement. Their eyes were glowing brightly. Li Wei cried out in surprise and excitement. "That's right. Brian, you are finally here. Do you know that we have been trapped here ever since you left? We couldn't get out even if we followed your method." "Oh my God, I'm going crazy!" Li Wei cried out as soon as she saw Han Sho. "Let's go, I'll bring you out. After I left, this place changed. I was trapped here for a few days before I finally understood the rules," Han Sho hastily explained. His face was still filled with lingering fear as though he had just escaped from a dangerous situation. Cauldron Spirit unsealed the area. With Han Sho leading the way, Donna and the others hastily exited the place. "Brian, you were also trapped here for a few days?" Donna immediately asked Han Sho. "Yes, I don't know what's going on here. Many of the rules have changed." Everything that I could see clearly changed all of a sudden. It took me a long time to understand some of the rules again, explained Han Sho worriedly. After looking at the towering mountains that formed the ninth realm mystical harvester, Han Sho sternly said to Dana, "Look at those mountains. They look like they are on the verge of collapse. Let's not risk entering them for the time being. Let's come out and observe the situation first. What do you think?" Following Han Sho's suggestion, Dana and the others hastily looked around. They discovered that the towering mountains seemed to be shaking and that deep rumbling sounds were coming from the depths of the earth. Dana's expression changed. She cried out in alarm. "Judging from the situation, this place is about to collapse. Oh no, we have to leave at once. This place is too strange. It was already filled with danger when it was peaceful. Now that it is about to collapse, wouldn't it be even more fatal?" Bolton was truly frightened. "Big Sister Dana, I think it would be better for us to take cover for now." Li Wei was also fearful, and she unnaturally moved backward. Dana looked at the mountains in the distance. After thinking for a moment, she suddenly stomped her foot and shouted, "Let's go, let's hide for now." Dana, who had personally experienced the perilous situation inside, understood that there were life-threatening dangers everywhere. Even Han Sho said that he couldn't understand the situation. She knew that without Han Sho's help, there was no way they could protect themselves. Therefore, she resolutely gave the order to retreat. Retreat from the direction we came from. This was also the source of his serious injuries. At present, his body was extremely weak and he wasn't confident that he could defeat Dana and the others. Therefore, he was rather nervous. "We bear no ill will. Don't be nervous." Through Cauldron Spirit's observation, Han Sho knew that Old's mental state was unstable and that he still had the strength to fight. Han Sho also needed Old to stay alive and spread the news of this place's destruction. Naturally, he didn't want Old to die at this moment. "That's good. I'm really scared." Old let out a low laugh. He looked thoughtfully at Han Sho and felt rather puzzled. He couldn't understand why Han Sho would suddenly stop Dana and the others. Could it be that Han Sho saw that I'm still holding back? Impossible. Then, is Han Sho trying to save me? That's even more impossible. Old was full of doubts. Rumble. An earth-shattering sound wave came from behind Old. Everyone's attention was drawn to the noises. They hastily turned around and discovered that in such a short period of time, several mountains and rivers had suddenly collapsed and the earth was torn apart. Amidst the soaring dust, earth-shattering noises could be heard from that area. Under their attentive gazes, the earth-shattering noises continued. Dust soared into the sky, sand and pebbles flew everywhere, mountains collapsed, and the earth was torn apart. Everything was being destroyed. Suddenly, Han Sho's avatar of destruction inside the cauldron of myriad demons seemed to have comprehended something through the vision of Han Sho's main body. It immediately quieted down inside the cauldron of myriad demon. Han Sho's consciousness communicated with Cauldron Spirit. He discovered that the negative energy and soul energy within the avatar of destruction formed by the demon's layer edge had been completely cleansed by Cauldron Spirit. All that was left in the avatar was the purest divine energy of destruction. Han Sho immediately realized that the avatar of destruction that cultivated in the Edict of Destruction seemed to have gained some kind of enlightenment after witnessing the scene of destruction in front of his main body. Ever since Han Sho's avatar of destruction was formed, he had never suddenly gained such a wondrous enlightenment due to the changes in his environment. He was overjoyed when he discovered this change. He knew that Cauldron Spirit's opinion was correct. Only by removing the impurities would his avatar have a direct understanding of the Edict of Destruction. Overjoyed, Han Sho's eyes were fixed on the destruction of the ninth realm mystical harvester, not daring to relax in the slightest. The ninth realm mystical harvester was personally deployed by Gu Tianxia, the exalted demon lord, and brought Han Sho from another universe. After accomplishing its mission, before it was destroyed, it brought Han Sho one final benefit. As he stared ahead, he suddenly felt that the destruction of the enormous ninth realm mystical Een harvester seemed to signify his rebirth. Chapter 667. Under the watchful eyes of Han Sho and the others, the ninth realm mystical Een harvester was finally destroyed. When the dust had settled, there were no longer any special traces left. Han Sho stood motionless on the spot as he coldly observed everything that happened in front of him. After a long while of silence, Han Sho suddenly said, "Let's go and take a look. That place is already in such a state. There shouldn't be any danger left." After going through so many trials and tribulations, Dana and the others had great faith in Han Sho's words. When he said that there wouldn't be any danger in that place, Dana and the others thought for a moment, and flew towards the remains of the ninth realm mystical Een harvester. Han Sho remained motionless on the spot. Li Wei took a few steps forward and suddenly turned around. Puzzled, she looked at Han Sho and asked, "Why aren't you going? I don't think there's anything to see in that place. Besides, since you guys are going to take a look, I don't want to waste my time," Han Sho said smilingly. Li Wei bunched her brows and thought for a moment. Then she giggled and said, "That's true. With big sister Dana going, there's no need for me to take a look." Upon finishing those words, Li Wei turned around and stood beside Han Sho. She sized up Han Sho with great interest. Her eyes were sparkling with extraordinary splendor. Han Sho paid no attention to Li Wei. Instead, he turned his gaze to Old. Under Han Sho's attentive gaze, Old put on a dazzling smile and said in a candid manner, "Thank you for what you did just now. Otherwise, I might have been killed by them." By now, Old had recovered some of his divine energy. His pale cheeks had regained some color. Han Sho understood that Old had regained his confidence, and that was why he was so relaxed. Those who cultivated in the Edict of Life had much faster recovery abilities than those who cultivated in other energies. This was something that Han Sho had experienced firsthand. Han Sho was fully aware that would elite zombie could use the energy of the Tree of Life to increase the recovery rate of his heavily injured body by 10 times. It was within Han Sho's expectations that Old could gather some divine power in such a short time. "You're too kind. I think if they had forcefully attacked just now, maybe everyone would have been dead by now." Han Sho didn't take credit for it, and said with a smile, "Kid, you're pretty good." Hearing Han Sho's words, Old gazed deeply at Han Sho for a few moments before nodding and giving his evaluation in a deep voice. It seemed that he admired Han Sho very much. "You flatter me," Han Sho replied with a cheeky grin. With the help of the cauldron of Myriad Demon, Han Sho was no longer afraid of Old. Now that he had the confidence to speak, he felt even more relaxed. "Can you look after Kelly for me? I heard that you two are friends." For some reason, Arthur suddenly pointed at Kelly and asked for Han Sho's opinion with a smile. Han Sho was stunned. He didn't understand why Old would say such a thing. Li Wei was still by his side. Why would Old be so assured to leave Kelly in Han Sho's care? No matter how he looked at it, Han Sho, who was on the same boat as Dana, couldn't possibly have a close relationship with Old. So, what was Old trying to do? Was he testing Han Sho? A series of thoughts rapidly flashed across Han Sho's mind. Under Old's attentive gaze, Han Sho put on a bright smile and straightforwardly replied, "No problem. Kelly was just a demigod." Even if Han Sho didn't care about his strength, Li Wei and the others wouldn't care either. To them, Kelly was just an insignificant character whose life or death wouldn't affect the overall situation. Han Sho also didn't think that Li Wei and the others would have any interest in killing Kelly. "Thank you very much." Old smiled and nodded at Kelly. Soon after, he suddenly took to the air and flew in the direction of the destroyed Ninth Realm mystical Een harvester. Donna and the others were curious about that region, and so was Old. He would never give up until he had a clear understanding of the situation there. Old swiftly left. Standing beside Han Shu, Li Wei wore a pensive expression. She looked at Han Shu and then at Kelly. She didn't say anything, nor did she do anything to harm Kelly. "Hi, long time no see." Han Shu took the initiative to converse with Kelly in a soft voice. His attitude was very easygoing, as though he was completely unaware that the current situation was different. Kelly didn't have the same state of mind as Han Shu. Ever since he discovered that Han Shu was walking together with Donna and the others from the Calamity Church, he would always feel somewhat uncomfortable whenever he saw Han Shu. It was the same even now. He had an awkward expression on his face and didn't know how to respond. Han Shu sighed inwardly when he saw that Kelly couldn't let go of his unhappiness. He shook his head and didn't say anything else to Kelly. He understood that it would be very difficult for him and Kelly to be like before. Without another word, Han Shu looked ahead indifferently and fell into deep thought. Inside the cauldron of Myriad Demon, Han Shu's avatar that cultivated in the Edict of Destruction was replaying the scene that his main body had just witnessed in his mind. The earth-shattering scene caused this avatar of his that cultivated in the Edict of Destruction to comprehend some of the profound meaning of the Edict of Destruction and sink into a state of silence. Gu Tianxia, the exalted demon lord, had arranged everything in this place, and the means he used to destroy everything in this place was also very powerful. It secretly conformed to the laws of heaven and earth. This avatar of his that had just been cleansed of all the impurities in his body was connected with Han Shu's consciousness. From the earth-shattering scene, Han Shu suddenly comprehended some of the true essence of destruction. He replayed the terrifying scene in his mind over and over again, and tried to use the divine energy in his body to simulate the situation when the mountains and rivers were destroyed. Han Shu's consciousness had many wondrous uses. Although he couldn't share those wondrous uses with his other two souls, his other souls were able to receive the benefits of the wondrous uses of his consciousness. Han Shu visualized the scene when the ninth realm mystical Harvester was destroyed. Using the powerful decomposition ability of his consciousness, he slowed down the process of destruction step by step. The mountains and rivers split apart, and the rocks fell down bit by bit. Then, he transmitted the process of refinement to his avatar that cultivated in the Edict of Destruction. The divine soul of his avatar accepted everything and replayed the scene in his divine soul. The divine energy in his body slowly flowed according to the trajectories. Han Shu opened his mind and sensed the minute changes in the process of destruction. Gradually, he vaguely comprehended all the wondrous uses of the Edict of Destruction. The three souls of Han Shu did not interfere with each other. While all his avatars were in the cauldron of Myriad Demon comprehending the Edict of Destruction, Han Shu's avatar could still talk to Old. Han Shu's avatar continued to comprehend the ninth realm mystical Harvester. While looking at the ruined ninth realm mystical Harvester, he was conversing with Li Wei. Li Wei had gone from looking down on Han Shu to taking him seriously. The abrupt change in attitude caught Han Shu somewhat unprepared. Li Wei asked Han Shu a few questions. Most of them were questions that Han Shu was unwilling to answer. Han Shu would feebly respond to her questions. They were all nonsense. Li Wei's first impression of Han Shu was that he was an expert, and all of his nonsense was profound. Every time Han Shu spoke nonsense, she would ponder for a long time, leaving Han Shu not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Kelly closed his eyes and did not say a word. He appeared to be half asleep. It was as though he was using this method to maintain an appropriate distance from Han Shu. Time flew by in this state. It did not feel like too much time had passed. Old, who left last, was the first to return. Han Shu, who had been conversing with Li Wei, soon turned his attention to Old. With a single glance, Han Shu knew that Old was very disappointed that he did not discover anything of value. After Old returned, he nodded at Han Shu and thanked him. He then turned to Kelly and said, "Let's go." Kelly was feeling awkward when he heard Old's words. He immediately opened his eyes and followed behind old. The two rapidly flew towards the exit without any hesitation. Are we leaving just like that? Li Wei was astonished and puzzled. What can I do if I don't leave? He went over to investigate and found nothing. There's no point in staying here, replied Han Shu indifferently. He understood that Gu Tianxia, the exalted demon lord, must have destroyed all traces. Even if someone were to come and observe, they would not be able to discover anything special. From now on, everything that happened here would be a mystery that they would never be able to solve. As time passed, the gods who could not discover anything special would gradually forget about this place. They might even distort the facts and treat everything that happened here as exaggerated lies. We all know how special this place is. Why is he willing to let it go? Li Wei was still puzzled. She had a strange look on her face. Han Shu smiled and did not answer. He believed that no one would discover anything special in this place. With this premise, everyone would soon become indifferent to this matter. Soon, Dana, Bolton, and the others returned with disappointed faces. This is too strange. Other than the destroyed mountains and the torn earth, there is nothing special about this place. What the hell is going on? Bolton mumbled to himself along the way. He scratched his head and racked his brains but could not find any clues. Brian, do you know what's going on? Why has everything changed? Why can't we find any traces of anything special? Dana asked Han Shu with a grave expression after arriving. Shaking his head, Han Shu also had a baffled expression on his face. He let out a long sigh and said, I'm not too sure either. From what I can see, all the strange things here were formed by nature itself. Now that these natural wonders have been completely destroyed, all the strange things that happened here no longer exist. Impossible! Li Wei shouted. There are obvious man-made traces here. It doesn't seem natural at all. If even Li Wei could see that, Han Shu knew that Dana would not believe it. However, Han Shu was not worried in the slightest that everything here had been destroyed. He shrugged and shook his head again. I'm not too sure about that. Forget it, I don't think I can find anything here. Let's go, let's leave this place first. Dana was badly battered. She was thinking about how she should explain this to her superiors. She could not help but smile bitterly, and worry filled her heart. Dana and her party, who had been trapped in the underground world all this time without discovering anything, returned to the surface with Han Shu leading the way. Big Sister Dana, what should we do next? Li Wei immediately asked the moment they exited the underground world. What else can we do? Of course we have to report the situation here to our superiors as soon as possible. Dana let out a soft sigh and said helplessly. Bolton pondered for a moment and asked Dana, should we return directly or use the altar? Dana knitted her brows and thought for a moment. Then she said, let's go to the Calamity Church first and report everything here. Kaiser and Erickson have not come out from that place. They should be dead. It seems that we have made some contributions. In addition to the fact that their transportation matrix has been destroyed, this muddled battle can be considered our victory. Although this matter is rather muddled, without Brian, I'm afraid that we wouldn't have been able to leave the underground world alive, Bolton suddenly said with a smile. The party nodded in unison. Dana looked at the smiling Han Shu and sternly said, don't worry, I will report your contributions to our superiors. If nothing unexpected happens, this material plane will be handed over to you. Will those from the Church of Light and the Shrine of Ice descend upon this plane again? This was what Han Shu was worried about. If our superiors say that this plane will be handed over to you, they will definitely negotiate with those forces. Unless there are special circumstances, such a thing will not happen. In fact, you are worrying too much. Only that place on this material plane was peculiar. Now that that place has been destroyed, those forces will not be interested in such a low-level material plane. Dana consoled Han Shu smilingly. Han Shu suddenly came to a realization. The population on Profound Continent was small and the power of faith was limited. There were countless low-level material planes like this one in the vast universe. There were countless material planes that were vaster and more valuable than Profound Continent. Those major powers simply didn't have the leisure to waste too much energy on such a low-level material plane. That's for the best. Han Sho was finally at ease. After a short pause, he smilingly said, I won't be going to the Calamity Church with you all. I still have many matters to attend to on this material plane. Brian, there's something that I'm not sure if I should say. Donna suddenly looked deeply into Han Shaw's eyes and sternly said. Han Shaw stared blankly for a moment before he smilingly asked, What is it? Profound Continent is but a low-level material plane. It is a little too small for you. A talent like you should roam freely on a higher-level material plane. It is only on those material planes that you can grow stronger faster and gather more power. I don't think it's appropriate for you to stay here for too long, Donna said in a deadpan manner. Han Shaw put on a faint smile and sincerely thanked her. Thank you for your reminder. I know what you mean. After spending time with you all, my vision has broadened a little. When I'm done with the matters here, perhaps I will head for your Elysium. I hope that you can give me a hand at that time. Hee, no problem. You're pretty good. There are very few people on Elysium who are as resolute and calm as you are. I believe that when you arrive on Elysium, you will definitely make a name for yourself. By then, you will realize that the experts on Profound Continent really are mediocre. Donna gladly promised. Brian, when you arrive on Elysium, remember to look for me at my family clan. We brothers will be very happy to welcome you. Bolton immediately invited. Me too, I have invited you. You must remember to come to Elysium, Li Wei said smilingly. Don't worry, I will. Han Sho agreed smilingly. Shortly after, Donna and the party departed for the Calamity Church. After thinking for a moment, Han Sho flew towards the Valley of Sunshine. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.